Okay, we are live. I hope we are live. Welcome everybody to episode 8 of the Grumpy Gaming Weekend podcast on the 1st of June. We just thought it was July for a second on the pre-show, but it's not. It's definitely June. Welcome. How are you all doing? We're doing a bit of a weird one today. This is our first ever live episode of the podcast because there's only 2 of us and there was a lot of stuff going on yesterday. So we were like, why don't we do it live? Why don't we just do it live? Guys, let me know if we are definitely broadcasting and when you can hear us. Let us know in the chat if you can't, and if you can't, I don't know how to fix it, honestly. But today it is just me and Elliott. If you've never checked out the podcast before, we usually do this every Saturday. It is a weekly podcast where we talk about video games, video game news, we talk about all sorts of stuff. We usually are joined by Taylor as well, but she's been in Holland and she's just got back, so we're giving her another day off today, and we're not forcing her to be here. But as this is the first live one, there might be some technical difficulties. Just bear with us. There might be some I don't know what could go wrong, but it's live. You know what happens. And if you are checking this out afterwards, because this will be uploaded once this live stream ends, this will be uploaded to YouTube like a normal VOD, whatever you want to call it. So if you are watching this non-live, you missed the show. I don't know what to tell you. You missed the show. But we're going to be running it kind of the same as we all do every week. But what we're going to do this week a little bit differently, since this is live, is we are going to have like a little bit at the end. If you've got like questions or stuff you want to, or things you want to ask us or talk about, we're going to have that at the end. We'll have like a little Q&A segment, if you will. But Elliott is going to be keeping an eye on the chat while I say while we chat. It's usually me talking over everybody, but while we chat, we're going to be looking at the chat, and if there's anything that's relevant to the conversation, Elliott's going to let me know. But before we get going, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. Who've we got? We've got me and Blindside, obviously. Emery, how you doing? Simon, welcome in. Sammy Soros, good to see you. We have lots of chats. Lots and lots of chats. But welcome everybody. Welcome to the podcast. So this week we're going to be talking about quite a few things because there's loads of stuff going on. We want to talk about Death Stranding. We want to talk about Dead by Daylight. We've got some Dead by Daylight stuff. We want to talk about Call of Duty. I'm not going to be all day on Call of Duty because I don't really play it that much anymore. But I want to talk about the upcoming Call of Duty because I've got a couple of points I want to talk about. What else are we going to talk about? What else? We done Call of Duty, Death Stranding. We've done COD, Death Stranding, Dead by Daylight. Yeah, we could talk Elgato. Elgato have got something to prove, I think. I'm sure we had another topic. Short topic, big boys. By the way, we are also, since it's just the 2 of us, we're doing, what did we decide we're calling it? Beers and Boys? Bevs and Boys. I like that one. We're doing Bevs and Boys. I'm on the Kirin Ichiban because I am a weeb. It's not that. I've been watching a lot of Abroad in Japan and other Japanese YouTube channels, and so I keep thinking, oh, that looks nice. And so I'm trying. They can't hear you. I think they're bamboozling because it's definitely outputting. I can definitely see that the thing is going up. So good effort. Sammy won't lie to us. Sammy won't lie. He can't hear you. Like for real, genuinely can't hear you. How strange. I can definitely see that you are outputting some volume. Is it like he's quiet or legit can't hear anything at all? Because I can see the needle is going up and down. What about this one?
Turn me up all the way.
What about this one?
Make me all the way loud.
What about now? Can you hear him now?
I have
2 desktop audios. What if I use both of them at the same time? Okay, so I have two desktop audios on my OBS for some reason, and only one of them seems to work. You can definitely still hear him now.
Yay!
You can definitely still hear him now, right? Just let me know if you can't hear him because I've got one of them muted.
It's the only way Grumps can make sure that he's the only one that can get his opinions out.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. It's like, I have opinions, anybody else will be muted. God damn it.
He's just like, yeah, we just turn him down. It's fine.
I told you there might be some technical difficulties. This is only my actual 2nd ever YouTube live stream. So for those who don't know, I stream over on Twitch. I've been doing that for about a year, and so I'm pretty good at streaming on Twitch. Well, I know what I'm doing. Well, I know how to get the stream going. Well, all right, shut up. But this is only my 2nd ever live stream over on YouTube, and it's a little bit different over here. Everything's a little bit different. So I did say there might be some technical difficulties, but thanks for letting us know, guys, that Elliott was muted. Hopefully he's all fine now. Again, anything happens again, if anything goes wrong, let us know. we'll try and fix it. But yeah, so let's move on to the first topic. As I say, guys, if you have questions, we'll bring questions out towards the end. But if you've got anything relevant to the topics we're talking about right now, feel free to drop it in the comments, and we will talk about it. So, Death Stranding. I want to talk about this because I'm really interested in this game. If you haven't heard of Death Stranding, I don't know what rock you are living under. This is really, really, and I think this is fair to say, it's a really highly anticipated game, Death Stranding. It's a lot of people have been excited for it for a long time because of who's making it. So if you don't know Death Stranding is Hideo Kojima's first ever solo project. And when I say solo project, it's not just him, obviously, but he used to work.
He's the only one. He's doing all of it.
It's everything. Yeah, he's a madman. But no, he used to work for Konami, and essentially him and Konami had a big falling out while he was working on a project called Silent Hills. Silent Hills being supposedly the latest Silent Hill game, and it was going to star Norman Reedus, and I don't know if he was working with Guillermo del Toro then, but he was definitely working with Norman Reedus, and they were going to make Silent Hills. So Kojima fell out with Konami, he left, and he took Norman Reedus with him. Reedus went on to work with Kojima, and he's working with Guillermo del Toro, which you might know from all sorts of crazy, spooky films. I'm trying to think of any. Kronos and Pan's Labyrinth. Guillermo del Toro works on stuff like that. And Norman Reedus, obviously, he plays Daryl from The Walking Dead, amongst other things. And so they're working on this big project together. And rather than doing Silent Hills, which I'm assuming Konami still has the license for, they decided to make a completely new project. And it's called Death Stranding. And it looks weird and wacky and crazy and I don't think anybody knows what's going on.
It is a Kojima game, so it's gonna look weird and wacky.
Yeah.
And
do you know what's really interesting? I feel like Kojima working for Konami, he was like reined in a lot. I feel like he was this crazy, like artistic. I say crazy in a good way, by the way, but he was like this really like artistic. He had a lot of like crazy ideas, and he wanted to put them out there. But I feel like Konami were like, no, do this. This is just my own opinion. I've got no sources to back this up. This is just what I think went on. And so I think now that he's like on his own and he's working for his own studio, he's just got free reign to do whatever he wants. And this is going to be either a masterpiece or it's going to be a complete flop. I don't think there's going to be any in between on this one.
It's definitely going to be different to anything we've ever seen before. I can say that without having to even think about it. From some of the stuff that I've seen from Kojima at Konami, when like for one of the Metal Gear Solid games, he wanted to make a boss that was like a 4-hour fight, and they were like, no, so he couldn't do it. So who knows what we're gonna see in this game?
Yeah, exactly. So from what we've seen so far, there seems to be almost like two worlds. There's like it's confirmed now that there are at least two different sort of worlds, because there's an upside down world. So if you die in this game, you don't actually die, you just go to the upside down world. And then you've got to find your way back. But then it says that there will be consequences. So there's no hard failure state, but there will also be some form of consequences. There's also kind of multiplayer, but there's kind of not. It's like supposedly this like multiplayer experience, but there's no like co-op or no like it's everything's so vague, but I love it.
Every time they give us more information, I'm just more confused about what's going on. Like at the start, we saw like kind of like a very like vague teaser trailer, and I was like, oh, it looks like it might be this, or it could be like this. And the more information they've released, I've just been like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
I'm
same.
so lost.
Like it's one of those weird things where the more that we get to see, the less we understand, and I really like that. So we have these they've called them beached things now. And in the very first teaser trailer, there was this beach full of whales, dead whales and things like that. And they're actually going to be a big part of the story by the looks of things, because they keep referring to them as these beached things, and they keep going like, oh, but we still have the beach things to worry about. So that's going to be an element. And then there's these babies that they take around in like these sort of weird canisters that keep them alive, and I don't know why they do that, but they seem to be made in a lab by the looks of things. And then there's like these weird shadow people that sort of kill you, and I just don't know. It looks wacky, and I'm really, really interested. So we know that it's going to be a PS4 exclusive. It's almost confirmed now at this point that it's going to be a timed exclusive. So it's going to be, PlayStation for a while, and then it'll come to other platforms. I don't know which exact platforms, but I'm actually I'm actually think with this one, I'm going to get it on PlayStation because I'll want to get it on day one because I don't want anything spoiled for me. Usually I would wait for a PC launch on a game like this, especially with knowing how my PlayStation anyway, doesn't seem to play games all that well, especially compared to my PC. So I'm actually going to get this one on PlayStation anyway because I want to know what's going on. I want to know the story.
Yeah. I think definitely, like, if you are the kind of person that, like, a spoiler of, like, story things is going to ruin a game experience for you, then you definitely need a day one. There's no way of waiting for the exclusives, the non-exclusives, sorry.
Well, on the other side of that, though, I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like with this game, with Death Stranding, it's going to be a heavy element. By the way, we didn't even talk about what we played this week. We completely glossed over that section.
We didn't.
We'll go back
straight into the Death Stranding.
We'll go back to it, don't worry.
We've played being confused by Death Stranding.
But yeah, like, it's I've lost my train of thought now. It was something, I feel like it's going to be one of those games where there's a lot of stuff that's still not explained. Like, I feel like there's going to be a lot of theories behind it. Games like Little Nightmares, where they don't tell you everything, and then afterwards a lot of people make up their own theories about what is going on, and I really hope so, because those are like my favorite kind of games, where you have a little bit of leeway to interpret it yourself. And, you know, do we know, is it going to be like a plague, or is it going to be aliens, or is it going to be demons? Is it... who knows? Who knows? And I really hope that we have a little bit of mystery left by the time we finish it. But yeah.
I think so.
We've seen
I think it's going to be interesting. I want it to have a bit of everything. I want it to be like, oh, it's a disease, and it turns out the disease is caused by aliens, but then the aliens are actually demon. Go through all of it.
Demon aliens, why not?
Come on.
I know a lot of people
Kojima, give it all.
criticized it by saying that the gameplay so far looks like Mailman Simulator. And for those of you who don't know, the premise of the game is that you're taking supplies from one place to another, and the game is designed around the fact of that is the difficulty. Like, getting from one place to another is going to be very, very difficult because you've got they have also announced now that there are human enemies that are out to get you as well. So you've got these human enemies, you've got these beach things, you've got these shadow things. Like, who knows? And we said as well that there's some combat we've seen. So there is some very light elements of combat in the trailer, which is also interesting, with like dodging and juking. And he also seemed to be dropping things as well. Every time he got hit, like, he dropped stuff.
Yeah, he got hit in a pair of boots, fell off his backpack. And then at one point he downs an enemy, they drop a briefcase, and he picks it up and hits someone with it. So
yeah,
there's
I have a feeling like there's
going
to be like a, you know, try and avoid combat. But then if you do get in combat, you have this trade-off that if you stand and fight, you're going to lose items. And I feel like scavenging and, you know, being kind of selfish in a way is going to be a big part of it, which is interesting. I'm just a little concerned because stealthy kind of games tend to kind of bore me after a while. But then again, you know, it does kind of bear some similarities to Metal Gear Solid, where at least if you do get caught, you can run and you can fight back. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that kind of stealth. But the gameplay so far does seem to be a little bit... It seems very unique and interesting, but it also seems a little bit, okay, I'm running around like a mailman. And it is open world as well. So we'll have to see. I will say at least the open world, you know, the world does look very interesting. So we'll have to really see how it plays, but I'm really interested. I'm really excited. Are you going to be playing it, do you think? You picking it up?
I don't know. I don't know. I like kind of actiony, run in, kill stuff kind of games. And it doesn't seem like that kind of game.
Yeah.
So I think it's maybe. I think the storyline will be amazing. Like I said, I think Kojima's going to bring us something that we haven't seen from anything
amazing
else.
And confusing all at the same time.
Yeah. It will definitely be confusing, but like the amazing will be the prevalent emotion. I think.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because also, I think from some of the stuff in the trailer, so at one point they bring up like a gear wheel, and he gets a ladder, and he puts the ladder up, and then he drops it, and he climbs things with it. So I think you might end up with a bit of like Metroidvania kind of, oh, you've got this new gadget, which means you can now go into chasms, or you can climb cliffs, or you can, and it's gonna kind of evolve in that way.
Yeah.
So
possibly. I mean, it would be nice if, you know, this. We know that the game is definitely open world. It would be nice if that open world. I don't want to start judging the game yet, but I feel like a lot of open world games, they go all on size, and we'll talk about that later with Elgato, but they go in all on size. They're like, we want to make it the biggest world ever, but then it ends up being lifeless and boring. Like, even Rage 2, which just came out, had this same problem where it was a big world, but it's like, but now I'm just driving for 10 minutes and I'm bored. There's nothing to do. I'd rather have a smaller world that was more rich, like The Witcher. I mean, The Witcher was a an example of open world done superbly, because that map was pretty big, but every part of it was filled with something. Whereas, you know, games like Far Cry and even Assassin's Creed, they have these giant maps and now in them, or now of interest, or just same copy paste, you know, clear out bandit camp. So I'm really hoping that the open world is thought out well, and knowing that the game is all about delivering objects from one place to another, like it makes sense. It makes sense to have it open world. I just really hope that they do it right, and we won't know until we start to see a little bit more gameplay footage on that one.
And it's a really difficult balance, though. Like, you make this huge world, and a lot of people... I remember games years ago, they were coming out, and it's like, oh, it takes you an hour and a half to walk across this world. And it's like, well, that's all well and good, but there's not things to do in the middle. And then your choices basically are, you try and program something for everywhere, or you start with things like procedurally generated things, at which point you lose your element of control over what's where.
100%.
So it's all well and good. Like,
I feel like
if you have a procedurally generated like events coming up, then sometimes it's just like every 3 steps, it's like, oh my god, can you stop? I'm just trying to get somewhere.
Yeah, that's kind of like the MMO, like modern MMOs have tried to do that, where their like missions and things are a little bit more, you know, they try and make these little living worlds, they call them. And I can absolutely see that happening with console games. But again, like, if you're going to do an open world, there needs to be a reason for it. And I do think there is a reason. I do think there is a reason for that. I just feel like in this game, you know, I don't want it to be this massive thing, because again, the gameplay already looks a little bit simplistic, and so I don't want this world to be giant and open and you're just running around it. But to counter that, considering that this world looks so interesting and unique, I've never seen in fact, in one of the scenes in the latest trailer, you see like a flashback to World War One, and like tanks are running around and people are running around, but like shadow versions of them. So I feel like there's definitely an opportunity here to make this world very unique and interesting. So I'm excited. I'm actually looking forward to it, which, you know me, anyone who knows me, Emery knows me, anyone who knows me in the chat will know that I am very cautious when it comes to getting excited about video games, because I've been burnt so many times before. But yeah, I feel like I'm giving my faith in Kojima. I'm like, Kojima, you have my trust. You have my faith. Don't fuck it up, all right? Don't mess me around, Kojima. Don't break my heart. Please don't.
I just remember, I've had so many years of people saying, like, in Kojima we trust, with like just a lot of the stuff that he creates. And then obviously we've gone through a patch where it's just been complete fallout of, okay, he's working with this, but now he doesn't work with the company, and then he's working on this project. And my favorite thing I've actually seen this week was someone posted that, so Kojima leaving Konami, starting Silent Hills getting cancelled, making his own production company, and then coming out with Death Stranding is the same timeline as Sony announcing the Final Fantasy VII remake, and now we've had 2 trailers. Those events are the same distance apart, like the full timeline.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, Square, what are you doing? Give him my Final Fantasy.
The thing with Kojima, though, is that it's very interesting, because I feel like a lot of people are really rooting for him because of what it symbolizes. Kojima leaving Konami and striking out on himself, and apparently, I mean, again, this, you know, we don't know. Like, there was a lot of rumors and a lot of insider information that suggests that Konami didn't treat him very well. And I feel like a lot of people are kind of in the same mindset as I am, where it's like, if Kojima can do well with this game, if he can make a blockbuster smash hit with this game, it's just a big middle finger to these big AAA companies who treat their stuff like crap. You know, these companies that force, like, you know, they prioritize monetization over creativity. They force things like burnout and the crunch periods that we keep hearing about. All of this thing in the name of profit. If Kojima can do this, it will be a big victory to say, hey, and what I hope it does is these AAA companies go, oh shit, if Kojima can do that, maybe our you know, lead people will do that. Maybe we should look after them a bit better. And that's what I hope it does. I hope it is like again, you know, I'm not like Jim Sterling. I'm not like fuck Konami, but at the same time, I'm kind of a little bit like, yeah, like these companies that fuck over their staff, like they need reining in. They need reining in a little bit.
Just something to nudge them in the right direction. I mean, Emery's just said in the chat that they think it'll be full of XP boost, microtransactions, and like loot boxes. I don't think Kojima would do that, because he's all about the art of the game and the feel of it. Like, I honestly can't see him putting something like that in a game, because I can literally see him being like in a board office or something, and people being like, yeah, but we can like generate more funding, and him just being like, no, I'm making a game.
Really interesting point, because what we hear a lot from the developers, because you've got to remember, a big AAA video game company, you've got developers, you've got the publisher, you've got the CEO, you've got the marketing team, you've got all of these different like arms of the company, if you will. I know you were joking at me, but it's a very good point you're bringing up. And I feel like a lot of times we hear developers who leave these big AAA companies go on to say stuff like, "It breaks my heart that we go into a board meeting." This is a paraphrase quote. I feel like paraphrased. I've had half a beer, not even that. Paraphrased. I feel like this is definitely a quote that I heard recently. I think it was about Blizzard. I remember somebody left and said, "It's heartbreaking to go into a room with all of your developer buddies who are all so excited to start working on a new project and then be going, right, how are we going to monetize it?" And this is before you've even started talking about, like, you know, what's the game going to be about? Like, what's the world? What are the characters? What is the gameplay? They go, right, how are we monetizing it? And they're like, and then that's like the forefront, and it breaks their heart because they want to work on great games. They want to be known for it. You know, as a developer, you want to be known for being like, hey, I worked on Halo or I worked on The Witcher. You know, can you imagine that, right? That must feel so good as a developer. And yet, all of these developers who are known for working on like Anthem and Fallout 76, that must feel like shit.
Yeah.
Like, it must feel like super shit because you really want to make a great game and you try so hard, but then the company's like, yeah, but what about those loot boxes though? Yeah, but what about that season pass though? Yeah, but what about this? What about that? And you're like, but what about making a great game? We're making a great game. And so I feel like I'm really hoping that Death Stranding is a smash hit success. And again, if Kojima can do that and can make a smash hit success without the microtransactions, without the live service bullshit, because he seems to be using all of these online features to benefit the player. Like he's trying to do it in interesting ways and being like, yeah, it's going to be multiplayer, but it's going to be different kind of multiplayer than you've ever seen. Yet, whereas all these other, you know, companies are trying to make live services and they're trying to make online be something that just charges you more money, essentially. I hope it works. I hope it works for him. I hope he makes a ton of money. And then I hope that funds another project. And then I hope these AAA companies go, oh shit, we have competition now from actual talent.
I mean, I'm hoping it's really successful. And then like you get devs from other companies who, like the guy from Blizzard, are sat there being like, oh, like, we make this beautiful game, and then the company sit there and like, okay, how can we milk it? And I'm hoping if Kojima does really well, makes enough money on Death Stranding, he starts taking on more devs. Yeah. You get the great devs that want to make like beautiful games and interesting games and exciting games or whatever. And they start going, Kojima, I'm here as a dev. I've been working this long. And they're not letting me do this, this, and this. Like, obviously, they know that he's as well going to be someone that like understands that position, like having like a CEO or a board or something holding stuff over you. So hopefully he goes around, just attracts the best devs out there, and we get even better games.
Yeah, I hope so. And I hope, like, I feel like we're coming up to a turning point now. I feel like a lot of people are talking about how we're so done with the AAA video game industry. We're so burnt out with it. We're so bored of it. You know, people are just not, like, games that would, like, 10 years ago would have been massive successes, like Anthem, you know, would have been a success 10 years ago, let's be honest, right? These games that are coming out and are flopping, that are causing job losses, are causing these companies to start, you know, cutting jobs. I feel like people are ready for I don't want to say like a revolution, but we're ready for this sort of like new emerging breed of game studio that aren't AAA, but can still produce the same quality of game as AAA, but don't have all that bullshit. And I feel like, you know, Kojima is one of those people that has the power to do that. If he can make the money from this game, he has the potential to do that. And I don't even know what we're going to call them. We're going to call them like, I don't know, AAA, but not parasitical bullshitting bastards. I don't know. Double A. No, that's battery.
Triple A. We'll do something. It's fine.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm looking for it. I'm rooting for it, and I hope, you know, when I play it, I'm gonna be honest with it. If it's shit, it'll shit. You know, I'll say it's shit. But I'm hoping that it turns out to be a masterpiece. It's already one of the most interesting games out there, and it's not even out yet. So that should tell you something.
But at the moment, is it interesting because none of us understand it?
Yeah, but even so,
I think that definitely adds to it. Like the number of people who are just like, I don't know what's happening.
In this market of everything has to be a clone of Fortnite, essentially. Everything has to be a live service. Everything has to be and we're going to be talking about that when it comes to Call of Duty segment. We're going to be talking about how, you know, even Call of Duty got toppled by Fortnite, but everything's chasing so desperately to be Fortnite, and we keep getting told single player's dead, and, you know, story driven's dead, and this is dead, horror's dead. Remember when everyone's saying horror was dead? I feel like in that sort of market, for him to come out and be like, yo, here's some fucking crazy shit you've never seen before. And there's another thing, like there's how many games come out and you're like, yeah, I've done this already. You know, I've already done this, you know? We've never seen a game like this before. And he's come out with something that is completely unique and interesting. And I'm on board. I might even pre-order it.
Oh, don't. Oh, what? I guys tried to stop him. I'm sorry.
That hurt my heart.
No pre-orders. We all know.
I'm joking, but no, I don't know.
We have rules for a reason.
I'm definitely going to be buying it. It's going to be a game that I'm looking at very, very closely. And Kojima, good luck. Again, just stay the path. All right, don't get corrupted. Don't get corrupted by the money. But that's Death Stranding. If you haven't seen the new trailer, go and watch it. It's about 8 minutes long. Very, very interesting. Lots more details, and it's available on YouTube and other places to watch. We completely missed the segment. Look. This is a secret. I'm going to tell you a secret. Taylor secretly runs this show. All right, it's not me. It's Taylor. Without her, we crumble. No, we completely glossed over the segment because this is the first live one and it's a little bit weird. We glossed over the what have we been playing this week. So we're going to do a little rewind, a time rewind, because I know you love your time rewinds.
Literally, it was said in the chat earlier, no time travel this week because it's live, and you somehow got it in.
I found a way to put some time travel in there, but just remember, just go back. There you go. That was my rewinding time.
I'm not joining in on that.
Well, that's fine. I mean, you were a freeze frame. It's fine. But no, we're going to go on what we've been playing this week and all of that bollocks. So have you noticed how this is live? I've just completely disregarded the trying not to swear part of this.
At the start, before we started, Grumps goes, yeah, you swear a lot. So can you just hold back on swearing? I don't think I've done one yet. And then you started dropping F-bombs and I'm just like...
It's because I'm in Twitch mode. I'm in like live streaming mode. I'm like, it's fine. You can swear over there. No one gives a crap. On YouTube, you got to be a little bit careful. But anyway, what have we been playing this week, Elliott? What have we been up to? I'm going to guess. I'm going to have a little guess. You've been playing some Sekiro?
Yeah. So I'm still playing some Sekiro, still playing some simulator games. I started playing Dauntless this morning because I've seen a lot about it, and I've been in a few like Twitter threads of people saying like, "Oh, I'm really enjoying this Dauntless game." I'm a big Monster Hunter World fan.
Yeah.
And I know that you weren't a big fan of it because of the slower combat.
Yeah, I said the thing with I actually really enjoyed a lot of things about Monster Hunter World. The combat felt like you're walking through treacle. Or if anyone who plays World of Warcraft, it's like when you're walking through water. I hate it. I hate that. But everything else I actually really liked about it. But yeah, go on.
Which I kind of get, but like I kind of love because it's kind of a lot more slowed down. You have to think about things a lot more, but the combat is very, very tactical.
Yeah.
Dauntless is kind of the opposite. You are much quicker, and the combat is a lot less tactical. Like you still have things like wound damage, stagger damage. So like hammers do more stagger damage, and they also do more damage to armor because you're like bludgeoning it instead of trying to pierce it. And there's like systems in place, and I think that like they've clearly thought about the combat, but they haven't overthought the combat, and it works really well. I like the speed of it. I'm not sure about the control system. It's almost like Devil May Cry-ish, where it's kind of like you have like heavy attack, light attack, and then like the combos are basically like these set combos. It's like fine. I think every weapon seems to have like one combo that is just better. So one of the weapons is like chain axes, like God of War 3 style. Literally there's like an XXX and then you hold triangle. I've switched control systems twice in the same sentence. So it's like 3 quick attacks and then a heavy attack and you hold it.
Yeah.
And the damage output on it is so much like better than any other combo with the same weapon. So I think they could work on that a little bit, but I'm enjoying it. The art style is very Fortnite-y. It's very colorful.
Yeah.
But I don't hate it. I mean, I didn't like Fortnite, but I didn't like it because of the building, not so much the art style. So it's a good game. It's fun to play.
Yeah, I see. It's had a resurgence. Has it had like an update recently or something? Because I know a lot of people just seem to be playing it all of a sudden.
It was like alpha and beta before, and I think it's now released.
Right, because I must have played it in beta then, because I played it like a year ago now, and I played it with a couple of streamers, and we had like a really fun time with it, and then just sort of never went back to it. Like it didn't back then. It didn't have the like staying power of other games. It didn't have that like. I want to go back and play it again. It's just like, well, if we play it, we do. If we don't, we don't. But it was fun. It was very much it solved my biggest gripe with Monster Hunter, which was that walking through tar or walking through treacle feeling, which is, I know a lot of people say, that like that's what Monster Hunter is supposed to be, and that's absolutely fine. I just don't enjoy that. I don't want to feel like I'm walking, like I'm hindered. I feel like I've got chains around my feet. And so that really solved that, but at the same time, it didn't have a lot of the things which made Monster Hunter really great. Like, it didn't have like, in Monster Hunter World, anyway, you get like, your little companion who's really cool, and you can dress him up.
The palicos, they're awesome.
Yeah, and you've got all, I don't know, like, the cooking and the Japanese quirkiness. It didn't have any of that, which I really loved, but the combat I massively preferred in Dauntless. But yeah, I enjoy Dauntless. You've been playing anything else? I know you finished Doom, didn't you?
I finished Doom Friday. The last boss was probably the easiest boss of the game.
They're like
there was a Yeah, basically, like the second last boss was basically there was just this one big dude who has like a sword and shoots fireballs everywhere. When you fight a single one of him, I was like, oh, this isn't too bad, not too bad, not too bad. And then 3 spawn, and I was like, great. But like, they're very much beatable if you actually think about what you're doing. But yeah, the last boss, I was just a bit like, run circular around room, pile bullets into it. Which, to be honest, that is a very Doom tactic to kill shit.
Yeah. Well, Doom was marketed as being just shoot things, have fun, you know, which I definitely enjoyed what I played of it. I didn't finish Doom. I need to finish it, but I definitely enjoyed what I played of it. I'll probably be playing the new one when that comes out. You know, as much as people, again, first-person shooter seems to be in a really awkward spot. We'll come on to that with Call of Duty. Doom is one of the last ones that just seems to be here's a fun campaign, and it's all about fun and killing stuff with massive weapons and, you know, no overthinking it with the live service model, and it has to have a battle royale, because everything has to have a battle royale now. But yeah, that was good.
It's really well done. The multiplayer is really fun as well. I've played a bit of it.
Still got a good player base, has it? Like people playing it still?
Yeah, there seems to be, but they've got a system in there where you can, I think they call them snap maps, and you can make your own maps, and it's basically just kind of like old style Neverwinter Nights, where it's like, here is just a load of bits of map, and you just put them together however you want to. So I think because of that, like there's basically thousands of maps available to play multiplayer on, so you can just queue that and shoot each other. There's power-ups you get that turn you into a demon, which the demons are like super, super overpowered, which is great because it doesn't last very long. But whilst you're using it, you're just going around blasting just the crap out of people. So sort of fun, which just means now I have to work out what I'm going to start for next week's Finish It Friday, because we have finished a game on Finish It. That's one down. We've got one down for Finish It Friday.
I did a list in my Discord ages ago that was games that I need to finish, and I haven't updated it. I've got so many that I need to finish. I really could do with a Finish It Friday, but that would require an extra day in the week. But no, I played a couple of games this week. I played Layers of Fear 2. Which I'm actually going to have a quick, I'm going to change this because I want to talk about Layers of Fear 2. Because
I had to run off to work, so I missed the end of your stream for Layers of Fear 2, but it did look interesting.
Yeah, it is. So Layers of Fear 2, if you've never played the first Layers of Fear, it's kind of similar. So in the first Layers of Fear, you were an artist and you were kind of suffering some form of mental break, and that was incorporated into all of the enemy design, into all of the horror aspects. Everything was around your art. Even every level was a new piece for your masterpiece or whatever, your opus magnum. So that has kind of translated over to the second game, whereas in the second game, rather than an artist, you seem to be like a director or an actor. It's a little bit unclear, but you're aboard a ship, and very much like the first game, as you progress in that game, little bits of story get handed to you as you go along. I still have no clue what like the overarching story is. I've got bits and pieces, but I still don't really know what went on. But what's really interesting about this one, and with a lot of the game design is very, very similar, and I'm talking about things like, if you played the first one, there's a lot of stuff where like you'll walk into a room and then you'll like, I don't know, turn a lamp on, you'll turn around and the whole room has changed. Or, you know, a lot of like viewpoint mind bending kind of stuff. I would say that the first Layers of Fear was a light horror game. It wasn't super scary, but it was an intriguing and interesting, both mechanically and with the story. And this game is exactly the same. It's not the scariest horror game. There's a couple of jump scares that actually got me, and there's a couple.
I didn't like the spooky child. There was a spooky ghost child, and it was on top of a wardrobe. I wasn't a fan. There was a few bits before it as well. I was like, not sure if I like that. And then there was spooky ghost child, and he's just like swinging his legs, and I was like, he's not threatening you whatsoever, and I'm still terrified.
He's just sat there, just having it, just chilling out. But no, it's not the most scary game. If you're after a really scary game, this is probably not going to be one for you. But the story is very interesting, and it evolves over time. And in this one, I'm getting real Cthulhu vibes. I know me and my chat had a little bit of a debate about this one, because some people weren't convinced in my chat. But I'm getting real like Cthulhu vibes. Like, it's on the sea, and you see these like tentacles pop up everywhere. Like, and at one point, all the wood was made out of tentacles, and there seems to be like references to ancient beings. And obviously, this game is like the descent into madness, just like the first one was. And if anybody's played the game Call of Cthulhu, this one tonally, not in terms of the gameplay, but in the terms of the tone, really reminds me. Why have I got music? Is that you? Is that coming from you?
Is that me?
It might be.
I swear to God, out the back of my house,
it's
they play music.
I'm talking about horror games, and now I'm like, I can hear music. I'm like, what? Cthulhu, I'm joking, Cthulhu. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it. But no, there's if you've ever played the game Call of Cthulhu, tonally there seems to be like some similarities, and just to like really enforce that part, every time you complete a chapter, there's this sort of like head in your room. You have a room in the ship which is yours, and there's this like head, and it's like a halfway between a dolphin and a crow, and every time you complete a chapter it grows and evolves, and it looks, I don't know, to me it reminds me of Lovecraftian stuff, and I'm just like, I'm really hoping there is like a Lovecraftian theme underrunning this game, and a lot of my chat were like, I think you're reaching on this one. But I'm like,
I had you on the speakers, and I was running around like getting ready for work and stuff, and I heard the conversation about a crow dolphin, and all it reminded me of is towards the end of Bloodborne, there was like dog crow hybrids. There was like crow bodies with dog heads, and literally my head went straight to that, and I was like, oh my God, I hope it's less horrible than that. But I never saw it.
It's not that bad. So... It's just literally like a taxidermy almost. It's just there in your room, and it just grows bigger every time you play a chapter. But I don't know. There's definitely, it feels Lovecraftian. Maybe it's not necessarily like exactly Lovecraftian, but it feels it. Like it has a similar tone, and this whole references to ancient beings that we can't comprehend. And there's definitely this monster in this game, where in the first game, like, I don't want to spoil anything, but there was like monsters, but they weren't exactly what they appeared. And in this game, it might be the same, but it's kind of heavily implied that there actually is a monster in this one. So
there's lots of weird mannequins.
Yeah, lots of weird mannequins, lots of play with projectors, you know, old style. Again, in this one, it's all about cinema, or, you know, whatever, like rather than painting. There's a lot of play with projectors that I really enjoy. There was one bit where there was this like projector, and you could change the reel, so you could switch between different pictures. And there's this like weird like kid that's on all fours, but then he starts to morph into this weird like bendy arm kid boy thing. And if you stare at it for too long, you fail, and you like game over, and you got to start again. But I couldn't stop looking at it. I was like, it's so weird. It's so weird. Like he's got like weird bendy arms. I don't know. Just go play the game. It's great. I really enjoy.
The first time that like a real monster came out, you were supposed to be running away from it, and I remember you just standing there like, "What is that?" And then it got you, and you were like, "Oh!"
So interested. Like I was like, because there was these sort of like waiters almost that were like sort of like ghosty waiters, and they were just sort of like, "Oh hi, I'm here." They didn't really do anything, so I thought this was the same. I was like, "Oh," and then it came and got me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm supposed to run." Okay. Which somebody did say, if you're standing staring at the monster, the game isn't scary enough. And I will agree with that. Agree with that. The game isn't the most scary of horror games. It's just, I really enjoyed it. I feel like it's more of a story horror. And I love that. I love games with good narratives. But, you know, for me, I like them to have both good gameplay and a good story, which is one of my big criticisms of A Plague Tale, which I will be streaming eventually, by the way, but just not yet. One of my big criticisms of A Plague Tale was that the gameplay felt tacked on. But in this one, the gameplay it doesn't overstay its welcome. You know, the puzzles aren't particularly hard, and apart from one time when I broke the game, I found a game-breaking bug, so I had to reload a chapter and do a couple of puzzles again. But apart from that, like nothing's that difficult that you're going to be stuck in it for ages. So the gameplay is paced very, very well. Also, the graphics on this one, which is my least favorite, you know, my least important part of a game, but the graphics on this one look superb. It's a massive improvement over the first game. Everyone was commenting in my chat being like, "Oh, it looks so pretty, looks so good," and it does. It looks fantastic, and it runs at a smooth, stable 60 FPS, running everything on high. So yeah, really, really highly enjoying it. If you liked the first one, you'll like this one. If you didn't like the first one, you probably won't like this one. So that's pretty much all I have to say on Layers of Fear. I don't want to give any spoiler, you know, I don't want to give anything away. What else have we been playing? Oh, we've also been playing, and this kind of ties into Dead by Daylight, which we're going to be talking about later. We had a quick play of Death Garden, Blood Harvest. Sorry, I have to do this manually.
You trying to type and talk at the same time is hilarious.
Yeah. So, for those of you who have not heard of Death Garden, I don't blame you, because it's kind of a weird one. But basically, it's made by the studio that made Dead by Daylight, or making Dead by Daylight. So it's made by Behaviour. It's their second game, and it is... it's similar but different to Dead by Daylight. So it's an asymmetrical PvP game, just like Dead by Daylight. In this one, you have, I think it's 5 scavengers and 1 hunter. And so immediately you'd be like, oh, it's just the same as Dead by Daylight. It's not. It's a first-person shooter very fast paced.
It is very fast paced.
Very,
I wasn't
very
prepared
fast.
for how fast it was.
I wasn't, especially because Dead by Daylight is kind of slow paced. I know the matches go on like are very quick now, like the generators get done very quickly, but it's
the
still
chases
kind
and
of
stuff
slow.
are very kind of like you're chasing. In this one, there's one the scavengers that have like the ability to basically send out like a fake. I got bamboozled with that so much because
I'm getting bamboozled.
the
by
running
all
is so quick.
Yeah, and they can roll and climb up so they can climb up shit that you can't climb up. They can scale walls, they can roll and dodge and jump and hide in bushes, and they have some of them have invisibility powers, and like you said, there's one that can send out loads of different clones, which until you shoot it, they are exactly the same. You can't tell which is which. You have to shoot them. And so the aim of the game is the survivors, the scavengers. The scavengers have to collect blood and take it to a blood pylon. And once they've completed enough blood, or the timer runs out, the exit gates open and they can leave. Your job as the scavenger, as the hunter, your job as the hunter is to kill the scavengers before they do that. And there are definitely similarities between this and Dead by Daylight, but they're very different as well. So like we said, it's way more fast paced. It's hectic. It's very, very hectic. It's all over the place. It's like, wow, what's going on?
The maps are a lot bigger as well.
Gotta be good at first person shooters. Yeah, they are. They're not. The maps aren't
feel
huge,
bigger, and
they feel bigger.
A lot of them are very, very multi-level as well. Because obviously, as you said, like the scavengers can climb and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is an advantage. Obviously, you have the advantage of having a machine gun.
Yeah, so they can't shoot back. They have things like bows and stuff, so they can damage objects, but they can't damage you. So your job as the killer, the hunter, your job as the hunter is to kill them all. So how do you find them? Well, you can get power cores or something. They're called power
cells.
Power cells, yeah, these blue things around the map. So when you drop in the map, you've got very little ammo and nothing else. You've got to pick up these power cells to power up these drones, which the drones, if the scavengers get too close, will ping their location. You've also got to go run around and get things like ammo crates and stuff like that. So you're kind of running around. It's kind of like this real thing. Like if you spend too long looting, they're going to do their objective and they're going to get out. Whereas if you don't spend time looting enough, you're going to be in the middle of a combat and run out of ammo. So there's this real sort of like, it always keeps you on your toes. It's always like, it's like you can't stop in that game. You can't stop and plan like you do in Dead by Daylight. You just got to keep running, keep finding. And I found it to be fun so far. I've only played a couple of hours of it, but I found it to be fun so far. By the way, if you're like in the chat right now and you're thinking, oh, that sounds really good, it's on a free weekend till I think tomorrow. So you can go download it for free. If you already own Dead by Daylight, if you want to buy the game, you get a discounted price. It's like super cheap right now. It's like £9 if you own Dead by Daylight. It is free though until tomorrow. So if you want to try it, I would go and try it now. Go try it today if you can, because it is on a free weekend. But it's fun. It's still in early access, and for those of you who don't know the story behind it, it was a game that was released and then they pulled it because it wasn't what they wanted it to be. It wasn't in the right spot, and so they did the honorable thing and was like, right, we need to work on this, we need to really redesign this game, and they've just re-released it again. So it's still early access. It's got a lot of work to do. It's got a lot of things that I think need working on, but so far, well, did you enjoy it? Because I really enjoed the matches I played.
I really liked it. I actually found myself watching the whole of the intro cinematic, because obviously the Dead by Daylight one, it's like, oh, they're in the woods and they creep along, crow goes off, and it's a bit like, oh, it's just like, but this one actually has a world built around it. Like there's basically like a huge war between all the different nations, and then there's like this one place that's really nice to live, and everyone else lives in basically a wasteland. And the only way to move from the wasteland to the nice place is to go as a scavenger and harvest blood, put it on these pylons, and then like if you get to the exit, you like can become a citizen of this place. It's like very Hunger Games-ish.
I
or like Maze Runner.
Hunger Games. It's like Hunger Games, but only one of you got a gun. Like that, which you feel like, it's very much a similar sort of criticism, but also I understand it like to Dead by Daylight, is that you're not overpowered. You are and you aren't in this one. It's like you can kill somebody very quickly, and if you down them, you can then murder them and they're out, they're done. And so you are overpowered, but at the same time, in this one, the scavengers have a lot of ways to bamboozle you and get away. And if they work together really well, I played one match where I got absolutely dominated. I got no kills because they worked together so well that every time I would down one, like they were all there and they would resurrect them, and then they would be all over the place, and I was like, oh, which one did I get? Oh shit, where'd they? Oh, they've all gone now. And that's how that game feels. Like it feels like a chase like Dead by Daylight does, except this one's even more frantic. It's
I think it is very well balanced though. Like the objective progression is quite well balanced for like you can really wipe them out if you get an advantage on them, but
Yeah.
they're so quick. And there's been a number of times when I've got the jump on someone and I've just taken them out. And then there's other times where I've started like shooting at someone, or like the range isn't quite right for me, or I whiff a few shots, they scramble over a ledge. By the time I find a way to go round, find a slope, they're gone. So it does feel quite balanced. It's almost like instead of it being a balancing issue, you're all overpowered.
It's balanced in the same way. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's balanced in the same way that was Dead by Daylight, though, is where if you're in a group with your friends and you're all good at the game, you can dominate the hunter. So it's like, it's the same kind of problem as Dead by Daylight, in which like you shouldn't, in my opinion, in Dead by Daylight, you shouldn't be able to bully the killer. That killer should be deadly. But at the same time, if they make the killer too deadly, then you've got no chance. Like, what's the point playing as a survivor, right? So it's the same problem that Dead by Daylight has, but at the same time in this one, not yet anyway. Not yet. I haven't felt as devastated when I get dominated in this one, because it just feels more like a first person shooter. It's like, all right, I lost, you know, whereas in Dead by Daylight, I get angry sometimes. I'm like, God damn you, why don't you let me kill you? It's my job. Whereas in this one, I'm just kind of like, well, I'll just play better next time, you know? And I don't know, but I feel like there definitely is some stuff like resurrecting for me is too quick. Like I noticed that they can resurrect like almost instantly. So that makes it very, very difficult. If these survivors know what they're doing, if you down a person, because the way it works is you've got to down them, they go down on the floor, and then you've got to execute them, but you've got to hold E for like 5 seconds or whatever to execute them. You can't just instantly murder them. You've got to hold it. You can't shoot them more either. So I found that I was downing them, and immediately their buddies were like, "Oh, that's res now." And then there's like a few invincibility frames, and then they're off. And then it's like, again, they're all here together. I can't shoot them all. Same problem with Dead by Daylight. You can't hit everybody, and the same with this. You can't shoot everybody. So I feel like if this game starts to become more popular, and people start to play it like they play Dead by Daylight, where they really want to know how to be the best and how to do that, I feel like the scavengers are going to realize really quickly that just stick in a group. Because if you're running around singularly, you're easy targets. If you stick in a group, it's much more difficult to kill you. So again, we're going to have the same problem like we have in Dead by Daylight, where it's like Swift is OP. You know,
which hunter were you playing?
I played all three. I haven't played the Terminator because I'm not 100% if I'm going to buy the game yet, but I played a little bit of all three, and I like the Stalker quite a bit, but I don't think she's as good as the other two.
I mean, I played pretty much exclusively as whatever it's called, where you can put the turrets up.
The Inquisitor.
And I had a few times where people like went for the resurrects, but like if I was killing the long distance, I would chuck a turret down while sprinting over, and on cue you basically make like electric bubble and it interrupts actions. Yeah. And I actually had someone that they were trying to resurrect, and I interrupted the resurrect with the Q, and then I shotgunned the other guy down, which worked pretty well. But it was
the problem that I've found so far, which is probably something you'll get better with over time, is that it can be very difficult to see somebody on the floor because you have all of these ragdoll effects, right? So if somebody's like mid sprint when you down them, they go flying, and then you got to find them.
Yeah,
and that's like that can be really difficult. By the time you found them, quite often they can get resurrected. But I have found at the same time as that, I will be fair, I have seen games where when the scavengers are playing solo, they're playing their own game, they're not working together. It's so easy to take down a single person. It's so easy. Like once they're down, they're dead. They can't really do anything back. They're gone. So I feel like that game really rewards working together. So if you're playing in a group of friends, that again, there's that potential there that you can bully the I keep wanting to say killer, but you can bully the hunter, and maybe that's something they'll have to try and balance over time. But the game is pretty fun. It's very different to Dead by Daylight. Go play it. It's free right now on the Steam if you want to give it a try. And then after that, after tomorrow, you'll have to buy it. But if you do own Dead by Daylight, it is a little bit cheaper for you. So, talking of Dead by Daylight, while we're on that kind of train of thought, let's talk about it. Because we had, and this is the reason why I am glad that we did this today and not yesterday, because we usually record this on Fridays. They had the 3-year anniversary live stream yesterday, and there was a lot of information from that live stream, and I want to talk about it. Welcome in, new guys, by the way. We are kind of, what we're doing, if you're just joining, we are going to have a little bit of, at the end where we take questions and things like that. So we're just going to run the show as normally. If Elliott sees anything in the chat that's relevant to the conversation, he'll shout me out and we'll talk about it. But until then, welcome in. We are going to be taking questions at the end, so stick around if you want us to have a chat with you. But yeah, Dead by Daylight had its 3-year anniversary live stream party last night, which was great. I actually thought it was fantastic, and I'm going to talk about it. I have a scene. Hang on, where is it? This one.
We have
this
a scene?
one. Here we go. I changed scene.
Ooh.
I'm prepared. I'm prepared. This is the roadmap, but we'll go into it. So, Dead by Daylight is 3 years old, and they have just come out with what they're going to be doing for the 4th year. They've given us the roadmap, which they have said is a little subject to change, but what they've said is that everything that's on here right now is happening. It's whether they do more stuff as well. So, they started off with, some talk about Ghostface, which we already know about. They were supposed to be a secret, but they accidentally leaked him. They did a lot of the stuff that we already know, but there's also a lot of stuff that we didn't know, and I want to talk about it. Also, by the way, big shout out, if you didn't watch the anniversary stream, they had Cauliflower on, which was really nice. She's a very big Twitch streamer. She's a very big Dead by Daylight. Well, she does other stuff as well, but she's a very big Dead by Daylight Twitch streamer, and it was really good to see them having some, community. She is a fog whisperer now for Dead by Daylight, but it was really good to see them getting the community involved. I wish Blizzard was doing a little bit more of this.
I think Dead by Daylight have been very good at it for a long time, though. They know that Twitch are really, really driving their player base. 100%. So I think they've done a really, really good job of rewarding that.
Yeah,
reward feels like the wrong word, because then it feels like... But that is what they're doing.
They understand the relationship. They understand the benefit that streamers can have, but they also understand that you need to sort of you need to foster that relationship. Because, at the end of the day, I'm not probably their target audience.
You spelled anniversary wrong. Can you change it, because it hurts my soul?
Anniversary. Oh, God. Oh, God. Anniversary. This is live.
I noticed it, and then I couldn't stop noticing it.
It doesn't even tell me that it's not. Look, we did this 2 seconds before the stream started. So
I didn't do anything.
It didn't even tell me it was misspelled. Apparently, anniversary is a word.
All of this that you see is all grumps.
Yeah, honestly, I've only had one beer, but no. I feel like a lot of people, streamers and YouTubers, definitely both, can have a big impact on how successful your game is, especially on these kind of games that are, released once and then they last years. Again, we're coming into the 4th year of Dead by Daylight, so you need influencers, you need content creators, you need streamers and YouTubers, because otherwise people get bored of your game. And if people are watching your game, that means that they're interested in your game. That means you're bringing in new people. That means people are still playing it. So I'm glad that they are paying attention to that. But let's get into what they've discussed, because there's a lot to go on here. So first of all, I'm not going to talk too much about Ghostface, because we all know about Ghostface. Anybody who's on YouTube knows we've seen all the crap about Ghostface.
We did a podcast episode on it, and we spoke about it, and we talked about the animations of that.
I'm so excited for him. I'm more excited for Ghostface than I am the Plague. For me, I love I know me and Taylor disagree with this. She is bored of the knife killers. I love the knife killers. I love the licensed and the traditional horror killers. They're my favorite. I say that I do love Spirit. Spirit is my favorite killer, but that's because I like the grudge aesthetic. But I do love the just being a knife murderer. And Ghostface is definitely going to be very stealthy. He's definitely going to be very much a traditional, knife killer. So I'm happy with that. But there's nothing really else to talk about. He's coming out very soon. It's I forgot the actual date. I actually forgot the date, but the PTB.
Give me just 1 sec. I'm going to close the window because that music is getting louder.
No problem. You go close it. But I think the PTB is the 18th. It's the 14th or the 18th of this month, the PTB. And then he'll be released a week or two later. So not long now, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks or so till Ghostface. But Freddy was a big thing that they talked about this time, because a lot of people said that the Legion was being reworked, but the Legion wasn't reworked. The Legion was balanced. So what I mean by that is that people were calling it a rework when really nothing was reworked. He was just made, she was made. Good job.
No, I didn't get it. Didn't get it.
They toned down numbers, they changed numbers. So even Dead by Daylight didn't class, the Legion changes as a rework, but Freddy's being completely reworked. He's getting a new power. sleep is being changed. He's getting added new powers. So for those who didn't watch the anniversary stream, he's essentially going to have 3 tiers now of sleep. There's going to be tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, and each tier acts differently. And I believe you start already in tier 1. So, and it increases over time. So the more time you spend, I guess, in his terror radius, you increase your sleep. And they're even adding in a new mechanic now where they, like the pig has her boxes in the maps. Freddy's going to have boxes too, but these are going to be with alarm clocks on them so that you can wake yourself up. So a lot of people complained about Freddy. If you're all asleep, you're screwed because nobody can wake you up. You've got to do a skill check, or, you know, if you're full health and there's no gens left, you can't wake yourself up. So they're adding in ways to wake yourself up. The sleep is going to look very, very different. And they showed off a little bit of footage of how sleep in tier 1 works. And now, if he's right next to you, he's fully visible. If he's so far away, he's like, he jitters in and out like he does now. And if he's far enough away, he's completely invisible. So, and his terror radius is hidden too. So there's going to be a lot more scares, I feel, with him. There's also going to be, he's going to get new abilities. He's going to be able to do things, I forget what they called them, sleep pallets or trap pallets or something like that. And they're saying it's similar to the Doctor's pallets, except he sets them. So Freddy actually sets them. So you've got to make a choice. Do I want to put one here or do I want to put one here? And that kind of puts mind games on, because if survivors know where the pallets are, they'll know that it's a trapped one. But if they trigger a trapped one, I believe it explodes in blood. So I think if they go past it, it's going to like alert you to where they are. But he's also going to be able to do something with the gens and make them explode as well. So he's getting more power. He's getting newer powers, but I think he's also going to be a little bit more complicated. By the way, guys, Elliott didn't watch the live stream, so Elliott's kind of just, he has no idea what's going on. So I'm explaining it to him, so there might not be as much input from Elliott. But yeah, I think it's interesting. A lot of people have complained with Freddy because he's definitely feels like a hamstring killer right now. He feels...
I've definitely seen a lot of conversations about... But the weird thing is, I've seen conversations with people like, Freddy's way too overpowered. Like, once he gets you to sleep and stuff, like, he's a nightmare. I was literally going to say he's a nightmare.
He's a nightmare.
But, like, if you can't get people to sleep, or if the survivors work well around the sleep, then you can run circles around him all day.
It's like waiting 7 seconds before you can hit someone is stupid. Like...
Yeah.
So he won't have to do that anymore. That's the main thing. He won't have to wait any time now. He can just hit somebody just like every other killer. He can walk up to you and hit you. There's no requirements to hit survivors now, which is fantastic. Combine that with his like stealth powers, it's probably going to make it quite easy for him to hit you. But yeah, that's something that's I'm super excited for. I don't play Freddy often. I actually don't hate Freddy, but he definitely doesn't feel very powerful. And I know a lot of survivors really don't like him because you can't see him, and it's like, well, if you can't see him until, you know, you're asleep and then you get out of sleep straight away, it's like you spend the whole match not even be able to see Freddy. It's like kind of useless, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very glad that they're changing Freddy. He needs it. He's the one, in my opinion, who needs it the most. I just still think that Legion needs reworking completely, but nobody likes Legion. But Freddy was one of those that survivors don't like playing against him, and a lot of killers don't like playing as him. So, and as a licensed killer that you have to buy, that's not really where you want to be. So, big change for Freddy. Really excited about that. 3 more new chapters this year. So 3 new killers, hopefully 3 new survivors. They usually a chapter is a killer and a survivor. So 3 new killers on top of Ghostface. So 4 this year. I feel like that's a good amount. I feel like in a year, you know, I think that's a good amount. I am starting to get to a point now where I really want Ghostface, because I'm getting to like, well, like I've pretty much played all the killers now. Like I want to learn someone new. So 3 new chapters, which I'm super excited for. Massive changes to the monetization though, like huge changes to monetization. We're essentially getting a battle pass. We're essentially getting a battle pass for Dead by Daylight, which, oh god, battle passes.
I don't know how I feel about it. I'm a bit...
So when I say battle pass, the way that they spun it was you're going to have 2 tiers worth of cosmetics in a limited amount of time. So you've got your free ones, and then you've got ones that you can only unlock if you pay. And I will say Dead by Daylight is a cheaper game. It's not full price release. And so far, even if you buy like all of the cosmetics, it still only works out to be about like a $60, you know, experience. Because the new killers are always super cheap, which is good because, you know, like as a survivor, if people aren't buying the new killers, you don't get to play against them. So for a player-based standpoint, cheap killers, cheap survivors makes sense. So I feel like I don't begrudge them looking for more monetization, and I'm glad it's not loot boxes, but at the same time, like Battle Pass, I really don't like time-limited cosmetics because I want to be able to go back and earn them later on. If I'm not playing that month, you're screwed. And so I really don't like Battle Passes. It's probably will, let's be honest though, it probably will encourage people to keep playing, because if you miss out this Battle Pass, you're missing out those cosmetics. So that could be good for the player base, but
I don't hate them on free games. Like I said pre-stream, I said Dauntless has it, which I'm not horribly against because Dauntless is a free game. And it's the same kind of thing. You have a free tier that as you level up the pass, I can't remember what they call it exactly, but it's basically like a seasonal thing. As you level up through the season, you get more rewards. If you've paid for it, there is just extra tier. The paid ones actually look a lot more better value than the basic ones. Like if you're paying for stuff, it's not just like, oh, you get double rewards. It's like you're actually getting like bigger cosmetics and like full suit stuff, and because they've put transmogs into it. And so actually, like, I don't hate that because it is a free game. Fine. If you want,
I get FOMO though. Like I get that thing where it's like, oh, I see someone with a really cool skin. Oh, how do I get it? Oh, I can't because I didn't play that month. Like this is what Blizzard did, and it started to really trigger me, and it's something that I just really don't like. Now, considering I probably will just keep playing Dead by Daylight, so I will get the chance to unlock them anyway, like fine. But for people that maybe on a break, maybe you're too busy, maybe your work's too busy, you can't play for a month, where you get to lose out on those cosmetics. And I feel like it's a real risk reward, because people who are like me that really love cosmetics, really like to make your character look different, especially once you played a game for a while, you're going to start to get that feeling where it's like, oh, well, I didn't play that month, so, fuck it, can't have that skin. Adam, we will be talking about Call of Duty in a little bit, so don't worry, stick around. We're going to talk about some Call of Duty. But they have promised on top of the Battle Pass, which they're not calling it a Battle Pass, but from what they showed, it's a Battle Pass, right?
Yeah.
But they are also adding in some story stuff to it, so it's not just a Battle Pass. It's going to have some story stuff. It's going to have some. There's going to be some like back things, and there's going to be challenges and stuff that are relevant to the story. It's probably going to be very light story, but at the same time, like, I feel like that game is ripe for it. It's got such an interesting little backstory with the entity, stealing, not only stealing the people, but stealing the killers too. Like, the killers didn't choose to go to this place. They're just as much kidnapped as the survivors are, except, now they have a playground, whereas the survivors are just in hell, essentially. Yeah. So anything that adds more story, I'm happy with. We'll have to see how it turns out, because the game's story right now is very basic and bare bones. But that's fine, no one's really there for the story.
I mean, I'm assuming that they're gonna like, was it Titanfall 2 where it was like, there's a story, but actually the story was just multiplayer matches that had like, there was an order to the multiplayer matches that you got like match made into. No,
this is gonna be the way that I interpret it, and I could be wrong. This seems to be more like, we're going to give you some text and be like, oh, the entity's very angry this week, and the entity wants to, here's some backstory into the entity, and here's a challenge that reflect that. So it's going to be like, you must, I don't know, Mori people because the entity's angry, or I don't know, I'm just guessing, but like,
so I mean, that sounds more of it's more of kind of like a lore building than like a campaign.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem to be a campaign, and so they're going to be releasing it in like events, so I think it's going to be tied into the battle pass system. So I think each sort of like battle pass is going to have its own like new story to it. So I'm excited. I'm interested. I'm intrigued, and any chance to unlock some new skins in that game, I'm happy with, because I have been saying that I usually don't like when games add more monetization, but I do feel like Dead by Daylight, I want more skins, because when you're playing the same game for say same character for hours and hours and hours, it would be nice to change it up a little bit. And what's more fun than playing Toxic Nia with the bright green hair and bullying the killer, which is my new favorite thing to do. By the way, YouTube video incoming.
And then when your friends take the Mickey out of your trousers.
Yeah, look, I like them, right? I like them. You'll see it in the video. Yeah, so that's interesting. That's more new stuff. I'm happy with that. They have talked about the maps are going to be changed as well, and not just changed, they're going to be changing how the maps function. So at the moment, everyone who plays Dead by Daylight knows that the maps are semi-procedurally generated. So you have like the framework of the map, but the objects and the loops and things are semi-random. And that's still going to be the case, but they're changing how it works a little bit. So some of your maps that you're familiar with are going to be different. This is where it says the map rework with bad and preschool. They're starting with preschool, but the maps are going to be balanced, and they're talking about making some of the loops that are too punishing to the killer less punishing to the killer, but adding more of them. So there's going to be more loops, but they're not going to be as abusable, which I think is perfect, because how many times as a survivor you're running around an infinite loop for 5 minutes and then finally they get bloodlust and now you're running out and there's nothing. And this is very much like a, you know, there are abusable loops. Like just think about the one on Coldwind Farm, the pile of like half wall is a really good example of a really abusable loop. So they're making loops less abusable, but they're going to add more of them. So you shouldn't ever be, you know, it's going to be harder for you to be running out in the open, but it's also going to be harder for you to abuse them, which I think is perfect, because I think one of the big criticisms I have is that, you know, infinite loops are still a thing. People say they're not. They are. Like there are loops that are survivor. You can't catch them. And so if you give up chasing that survivor, well, that survivor just jumps straight on a gen because they know that you're not going after them anymore. And now you've got to find a survivor, so you're screwed as a killer. That's all that time wasted. It's silly, and especially with how quick the games are in Dead by Daylight now, it's abusable loops should not be a thing. So they showed some footage of it, and they showed some of the loops that they're talking about that are just like too wide, so that if you're on one side of the loop and the killer is on the other side of the loop, the killer physically cannot get around quick enough. And so they're reducing them down. So really, really happy with that. We are getting 2 new maps this year, which new maps is always fantastic. They're going to be, as you can see, continually balancing the game, which they always do. Absolutely fine. Dedicated servers are still coming. They've talked about it. They said that they wanted to, when they had them in the PTB last time, it was to test them and get some more feedback. So they're working on that. They are still coming. They want to make sure that they're fully working and operational before they send them out. And then
do you know how they rolled out in the PTB? I didn't play in the PTB at all. I don't know. Did you at all with the dedicated servers? Because You said to me before that they rolled them out for the PTB and they weren't happy with how they functioned.
No, they basically they ran them out as a test to make sure that they worked, essentially, and I think they did work, but I think they still have some work to do on it. Like I think back end stuff, like stability stuff.
Okay.
They weren't as stable as they were hoping, so they've you know they're still working on them. They'll release them when they're ready, and I respect that. But one big change which I have been asking for ages is they're finally, you might be able to see it says party management down there. They're finally making it so you can have a party in the game. You don't have to go through Steam. About time, Dead by Daylight. Yeah. Come on, behavior. About goddamn time. I hope they do this right, because people have been asking this for so long. Is like, why do I have to rejoin a party after every goddamn game? Like, well, let me stick with my party. So what they've said so far is that it's gonna be in the game and it's not gonna be through Steam anymore. And they've talked about, I forget the term that they used, but they use a term which heavily implies that you will stick with your party at the end of each match. You don't have to rejoin.
Oh God, I hope so, because especially like when you have like me, you and Taylor streaming together, and it's just like, between each match, there's 5 minutes where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm just trying to get into the party, or oh, my invite hasn't come through, and it's just like, it's just
busy
round
work,
that out of it.
It's busy work. Especially if you're like streaming as well, that's another thing. If you're streaming every match, you've got to like, you know, shift tab, you've got to click on the people you want. You might accidentally invite the wrong person, and it's just a faff. And it's like, in a game that like is heavily multiplayer, it's all multiplayer. There's no solo play, so it's like, come on, like you should have a proper party system in it. And they have acknowledged it and they're working on it, so it's incoming. It won't be until after Freddy. They can see it down there, the timing of it. I really like how they're showing you exactly what's coming and when. But yeah, it won't be till after Freddy, but still it's coming. Switch version coming. Don't give a shit. It's not the kind of game I want to play.
I was literally about to say, like, how do you feel about that? I'm not getting on the Switch.
Well, I say this with every game. For ports, bring it to everything, because if you're somebody that only has a Switch and you like the idea of Dead by Daylight, now you can buy it. Yeah, I don't want to play it on the Switch, but you might. So I'm always a fan of ports, as long as the ports work properly. You know, I feel like a game coming to every platform is always an advantage to being exclusive to one. Same with mobile. In fact, I want to talk about mobile because I had a debate on Twitter yesterday about this one. But same with mobile. If you're a mobile gamer, well, maybe you start playing Dead by Daylight on mobile, which is coming to mobile, and you love it so much, maybe you start playing it on PlayStation. Maybe you buy a PC and play it on that, or maybe you already have a PC, maybe play it on that. You know, like I feel like ports are always a good thing. You know, I feel like people who are like, oh, why do you want it on the Switch? Like, a lot of people said like, oh, fix it on PC before you bring it to Switch. And I'm like, but the people bringing it to Switch and the people fixing the PC version, different people, folks. Different people.
They are. It's like, true.
It's not. Do you know what I mean? Like the way that I see a port is it's something that we didn't have before that we have now. So it's not like they've said, if they were to turn around and go, we're never updating the PC version anymore, no more updates, now we're bringing it to the Switch. Yeah, that's what Blizzard did. That's what Blizzard, when they said like, oh, by the way, HOTS is being cancelled, Hearthstone is being cancelled, Overwatch is basically on autopilot mode, but we're bringing a mobile game out. This is why people got angry by that, but they're still working. Look at the roadmap. It's right there. Look at it. Look at how much shit they're doing for their main experience, which they know that PC, no offense to consoles, they know that PC is their main crowd. Most people play on PC. People play on consoles still, quite a big amount of people play on consoles, but their main crowd is their PC and consoles. So they're working on that. That is being continually updated, but they're also bringing it to the Switch and the mobile. It's like, it's a no-brainer to me. It's a win-win.
I'm really interested to see what they bring the mobile version out, like price point wise, because I cannot imagine that it is going to handle well on mobile.
Well, PUBG did it.
So, have you played PUBG Mobile?
No, but people have.
Exactly.
People have played it though, and it's not, it's one of those games that people who play it enjoy it. So again, it's something that we get that we didn't have before. So it doesn't, for me, I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less if it's good or bad or whatever. It's just something that we have that we didn't have, and nothing's being lost to get it, which was the big criticism that people had with Blizzard, was that we were losing PC titles for mobile titles. Whereas with this, nothing's being lost. The PC is not going anywhere. They're still continually updating it. We're getting new characters, new maps, we're getting new lore, new story. Everything that people are asking for is eventually making it into the game. People have said, we want dedicated servers. It's coming. People have said, we want party management. It's coming. People have said, the rank isn't working. Guess what's coming up next after the mobile version? Rank rework initiatives. They've realized that ranking isn't good, so they're probably gonna overhaul ranking completely again, which they've already done before. I was watching a Tide Times video on the ranking system, and it's evolved a lot since day one. For those who don't know, with the ranking in Dead by Daylight, it used to be based on blood points. So it was like a threshold, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was like 1,000 blood points is like a pip, and 2,000 is a double pip, whatever. So it used to be very abusable that, you are ranking better depending if you just got more blood points. So they completely overhauled it, and I feel like they're probably going to completely overhaul it again. But they're doing everything people are asking for. It takes time, which, let's be fair, I know I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of being like, your game's shit, fix it now. It takes time, and it's not a big team. It's like it's an indie studio, and they're working the hardest, I feel, to get it done. So I'm really happy. I feel like from the passion that they displayed on their live stream, and of course they're going to put the most passionate people on stage, of course. But from the passion that they're showing and the fact that they are really trying to integrate with influencers and community like that, I just honestly, I respect them right now. I know they've got a long way to go still, but I really respect them. I can't even think of and again, I complain about the hitboxes. I complain about the disconnects right now, because there's a big disconnect problem in Dead by Daylight. Big problem. I complain about all of these things, but they're working on it. So they're trying. They hear us. They're listening. That's the big thing. They're listening, and we know that they're listening because they're showing us that they have taken our feedback on board and that they are working on it. Whereas other companies, and this is not just Blizzard, many other companies just don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. They're like, no, we're doing what we want to do. Buy our microtransactions. If you don't, shut the fuck up. Get out of here. And it's like, yeah, I'm really happy.
I'm very interested to see, because to me, it seems really backwards to read all your matchmaking, then redo your ranking. Because, so say they redo the matchmaking and improve their algorithm based on the current ranks. As soon as they change the ranks, that's all going to break.
Well, I feel like in my head, the way that it looks to me is that the matchmaking needs fixing first, because no one really gives a shit about rank, but what people do give a shit about is getting matched up with people that are better than them. So if you're brand new to the game, and we've seen this when you were new, because we were higher ranked than you were when we started playing the game, right?
Oh boy.
So when you're brand new and you're ranked 17, why the hell are you getting ranked with rank 10s and stuff like that? And it's hard because, the player base isn't millions, so it kind of is like, well, you might wait 3 hours for a game if you're getting ranked, specifically people in your rank. And then on top of that, the rank gets reset every month, so for a couple of weeks it's like, rank means nothing anyway. But I feel like the matchmaking is more important. So they're talking about the algorithm improvement, which is matching people with the right people. So it's not people who are highly skilled with thousands of hours in the game versus a brand new player. And that needs to happen, because if you're brand new and it's your first day playing this game and you log in and you get bullied by 4 experienced players with flashlights and goddamn insta-heal medkits and all of that crap, you're going to go, this game is shit, I ain't playing no more. and you've just lost the customer essentially. So I feel like the matchmaking does need to be fixed first, and I think that the rank rework can be laid on top of that. You know, they can go, right, well, here's the matchmaking, now we'll change the rank around it. I see what you're saying, but I disagree.
I mean, when I first started playing Killer, I remember going to you and Taylor about it, because I thought originally when we were playing Survivor together, I was getting higher killers because I was playing with you guys who were higher ranked than me. I started playing Killer and I was like rank 20 Killer coming up against like rank 8 Survivors, and I was like, what is happening?
Killer, I honestly, I do. I think Killer is harder in that game than Survivor is. I feel like with Survivor, you have 4 of you with 4 perk slots, and if you're taking the good perks at the moment, Metal a Man, Adrenaline, Decisive Strike, and Self-Care seems to be the big one. But you have 4 of you. You can help each other. You can get away with your second chance perks. You can heal each other. There's so many things you can do. Whereas as a killer, it's all on you, and if you fail, you've screwed yourself. So it's like, I do think in that game, Killer is harder than Survivor. It's more fun in some ways, but way less fun in others. And I know that I play both. I'm kind of ambi-murderous, I guess you could say, because I like play both.
No one's saying that.
Whatever, I said it, so somebody's saying it, so you're factually incorrect. But I've actually really started to appreciate Survivor more recently, but I still enjoy Killer. But I feel like in that game, Killer is more stressful than playing as Survivor. I don't get as stressed out when I die as a Survivor. Yeah, all right, it can be really sucky if you get face camped, or if you get tunneled, or if you get, jump scared in the first 5 seconds of the match and that's it, you're on a hook. Like, I get it, right? But you can just move on. Whereas with a killer, I feel so stressed out sometimes. I'm just like, oh,
I think it's much like the game format pressures the killer. Like, even against 4 bad survivors, if you're not really doing anything as a killer, you'll lose. Like the survivors are pressured by the killer. Like, if you have a bad killer, you have all day to do shit.
Mm-hmm.
But
survivors,
like, as a killer, if you're not doing well, oh boy, are you in for it. Like, the game
problem with that game is you are on such a clock that as a killer, if those survivors, I mean, the way to play that game optimally as a survivor is that at least one person should be on AGen at all times. Doesn't matter what else is going on. There should be, unless it's only 2 of you left, somebody should be working on a generator 100% of the match. So what that means is that it doesn't matter how good or bad the survivors are, you are always on a clock as a killer. Whereas a survivor, you're not. Like, you can make the game last longer if you want, or you can make it go super quick if you want. So you're kind of dictating how good the killer has to be, because if you're all bringing in, like I say, if you're all bringing in, well, it doesn't even matter if you bring in like toolboxes. It doesn't matter if 3 of you are sat on gens and 1 of you is just looping the killer, and that's 3 gens being completed. Like, good job, killer's lost, So it's like, and again, good survivor friends in that game, what you should do is, if you get chased by the killer, you run in the opposite direction of your friends and you just hold out as long as possible. Because I have seen it so many times with a good Swift or a good, 4 survivors, that 3 gens can be done before a killer gets somebody on a hook. And that's not that uncommon. What usually happens, though, is if you're playing in solos, or if it's just a couple of you, is that people mess up. And once survivors mess up, that's when the killer starts to murder everybody. And that, there's definitely an argument. This is my big criticism of the game, is that I feel like the survivors have too much control. They shouldn't, because as soon as you have control, like, I was streaming it last week, and somebody was like, you don't seem to be scared of the killers like I am. And I'm like, well, that's because once you realize, I mean, the hag still terrifies me, but once you realize that you're in control, it's not scary anymore. It's like, yeah, okay, like, the killer's going to hit me, but I can run away for 5 minutes. It's not, it loses all that fear factor. And I do kind of wish that the killers had a bit more power and became a bit more dangerous, but it's really hard, because then all the survivor mains would cry and complain and they wouldn't have fun. So it's really hard to balance this game. It's not easy. And I do feel for behavior, because I feel like they can't balance it. It's never going to be 100% balanced. And everybody's going to complain. It's either killers are OP or survivors are OP, or like it is most of the time, when apparently both are OP. You can't have it both ways, but apparently both are OP. Who knows? But yeah, that's Dead by Daylight. Have you got anything else to add? You haven't played for a little while, have you?
I have not played for a little while. I've popped in every now and then, done like daily rituals. But I just have no time at the moment. I bumped my stream schedule up, which kind of took a lot of my gaming out. And
see, for me, it's my morning game. Like, I'll get up in the morning, have my cup of tea in the morning with my breakfast, and I'll do my daily, and then I'll move on to work. So it's kind of like my little guilty pleasure in the morning game. And I think that's partly why I'm not getting stressed out anymore. I'm like, look, I'm just here to do my daily. If I don't, if I die, I don't give a shit, But yeah, that's Dead by Daylight. I'm excited. I'm interested. I'm looking forward to what they've got coming up. I'm a big fan. I'm starting to enjoy it more than I was this time last month. I feel like The Plague was a big letdown for me. I feel like I was super excited, not because The Plague is bad, but I got super excited for The Plague, and then she came out, and then everyone was like, oh, okay, I'm done now. Like, I feel like everyone pretty much who wanted to play her played her on the PTB, so when she got released, no one was really playing it. Like, I can't remember the last time I saw a Plague as a survivor. Honestly,
she was a really odd killer. I never played her because I didn't get the DLC for it, but playing against her, I was a bit like, some plagues, it was terrifying because she seems to she can chase you down, obviously like the vomit over distance.
Yeah.
And then other matches you play against, and it's just like, it's someone that clearly hasn't played her much. And like, it's just so easy just to be like, cool, bye, I'm leaving. And then you're just gone.
So for me, I like the lore behind killers, and I have my favorites. Like Spirit is my ultimate favorite, but I like, Myers, I like Freddy, I like the lore behind them. And so for me, the Plague lore was very lackluster. It didn't feel horror. Like it just, I don't know. She really just doesn't feel that horrific to me. She feels more, I don't know. She's not horror in the same way that, like Michael Myers is. She's just a Plague.
She's more like almost like Indiana Jones action film than horror film.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Mummy. She's like the Mummy.
Yeah.
And I don't find that scary, which is why I don't really like her the most. She's all right, She's interesting in her mechanics, but apart from that, I'm not the biggest fan. But Ghostface, though, I am super excited for. I can't wait. I mean, I'm gonna order the for anybody in here right now. If you don't check me out on Twitch, go and check me out on Twitch because I usually stream Dead by Daylight on Tuesdays. I'm bringing the Tuesday streams back for Dead by Daylight because I miss it. But I'm gonna like cosplay as Ghostface. I'm gonna be like, what's up? And I just want to scare people. I don't care about winning. I want to jump scare people. So
I think that's gonna be his good selling factor is the fact that I think he's going to be very pop out the corner hey, and then he's going to stab people.
They said on the live stream that's exactly how they've designed him. He wants to be a jump killer. Not necessarily a jump scare, but they were talking about how he wants to be the surprise. I'm here, and they were talking more about his mechanics, by the way. He has his crouch and he has his duck and he has his weave and all of that. But he has his stealth mode, but you can unstealth him if you look at him for more than 2 seconds. So there's going to be this sort of you want to stay hidden as the killer. But you don't usually need to worry about that with most killers in Dead by Daylight. But with him, it's on you to be the jump scare. It's on you to be hidden, and it's on the survivors to kind of find you, which is usually because that's usually the opposite of what survivors do. They want to stay the hell away from, but on this one you're gonna have to try and keep tabs on him. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really really excited. I'm gonna be buying him on day one. I'll be probably streaming the PTB. I don't even give a shit. I'll probably make some YouTube content out of it too. But yeah, let's move on because we've been talking about Dead by Daylight for a long time. I want to quickly talk about Call of Duty, because I have opinions, not maybe necessarily about Modern Warfare, but in just Call of Duty in general. But yeah, so the trailer has dropped for, make sure I spelled it right before Elliott loses his shit. The trailer has dropped. My shit. The trailer has dropped for Call of Duty, the next one, and it's a complete turnaround on the last one. So on the last time on Black Ops 4, was it 4 or 5? 4?
Yeah.
Whichever. On the last Black Ops, they went all in on the multiplayer. They scrapped the campaign. They were like, no campaign. We're adding in a battle royale. And I think that was a huge mistake. I think generally Call of Duty flopped. I mean, no one's watching it on Twitch, and it's not been out that long.
They've been pushing that way for years, though, the whole drop-in camp. Because there's been a few where they're like, yeah, no campaign. And then they were like, oh, we've put in this and some wave stuff. And yeah. I kind of saw it coming.
Yeah, which nobody was massively surprised by it, but it came out and the Battle Royale, in my opinion, was crap. It was so tacked on. There was no reason to play the Call of Duty Blackout mode than there was to go and play PUBG or Fortnite. If you play PUBG and Fortnite, you weren't going to enjoy Blackout. And if you didn't enjoy PUBG and Fortnite, you weren't going to enjoy Blackout. So I feel like Blackout was a phenomenal disaster. The multiplayer, I actually didn't enjoy this last Call of Duty multiplayer as much as the last Black Ops, so I thought it was a step down. Graphically, it looked pretty much just the same, and they did the same thing that they did with the last with Black Ops, where they waited until everyone had done their reviews and everything and all their YouTube content, and then snuck in the microtransactions later, which pissed me off even more. And I just feel like this Call of Duty was an absolute flop. So they've announced Modern Warfare, which is a reboot. It's a reboot. They're not remaking it. They're starting again, but with today's standards. But this time, it's all about the campaign. Like, all they've shown so far is campaign footage. They've shown no multiplayer, no none of that. It's all about the campaign. And I'm kind of happy.
Modern Warfare was easily the best campaign out of the Call of Duty games.
Yeah.
I want to see whether they put in the airport scene again.
No. So it's well, they might do. It's
they got in a lot of trouble for it.
It's not a remaster. It's not a remake. It's a reboot. So it's going to be Call of Duty, but in today's standards. So Price is coming back, but they're not doing the same story. They're doing a new story for today. So it's going to have a completely new campaign with some of the same characters and stuff, but in today's standards. So they're talking about how for example, the warfare has changed now than it used to be. Warfare is a lot more complicated now, and it's a lot more dark and gritty almost. Like, there's a lot more enemies dressing as civilians, and there's a lot more subterfuge, and there's a lot more politics now than there used to be. So they're incorporating that into the gameplay. And one of the big selling points of this game, one of the big themes that they're pushing, is this morally gray. Are we the good guys or are we the bad guys? Is what we're doing right? And
what was that? There was a shooter that Spec Ops: The Line. Are they just going to go Spec Ops: The Line?
Maybe.
Have you ever played it or heard of it?
I played some of Spec Ops. I didn't play The Line though.
It makes you make more and more morally ambiguous decisions until it gets to the end and it's like, you're a monster. It's literally what the game does.
This is the thing, but from what I've seen from the trailer, I'm actually interested. And let me be frank. The only reason I got this last Call of Duty, I did buy Black Ops 4. The only reason I did, though, was because I just quit WoW at the time, and what I did is I transferred all of my WoW gold into WoW tokens, and transferred all of that into Battle.net balance, and was like, well, I have 60 quid, I might as well buy it, right? I really didn't, and I still felt like I was like, what a waste of money.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't have bought this last Black Ops if I didn't have that. So with this one, I'm probably going to get it, because I want fucking campaigns. I want campaigns. People, like, they think we don't want them anymore, and they're so desperately trying to chase that Fortnite PUBG trend. They want battle royales or live services. They want to make millions with their game, right? Which they still can make millions if they sell enough copies, but they want to make so much money that they're desperately trying to copy the current leaders. And what I think's happened, this is just my opinion, what I think's happened, because you've got to remember, Call of Duty used to be the gold standard. Call of Duty used to be the one that sold the most copies. It was the one that everyone was trying to chase. Remember when everyone was trying to be Call of Duty? Like, Call of Duty was the one that the kids were playing. Everyone was playing it. Parents were getting angry at it because they're like, my kid won't stop playing Call of Duty, and he's getting angry and he's shouting at his mates on Xbox Live, right? So Call of Duty used to be the gold standard multiplayer experience, and it got replaced. It got deposed by Battle Royale. They tried to chase the Battle Royale, and it didn't work. So I think now they've gone, all right, we concede. You won. You've won that arena. We're going to go to a different one. We're going to go to another aspect which made COD great, which was the campaign, and we're going to go all in on that. And I'm like, good. Like, good. You've realized you ain't getting into that Battle Royale market, so go and do something else. Like, if you're not gonna adapt to the current market, you're gonna fail, right? So I'm really happy that they've decided to go back on themselves and actually do a good campaign, and it looks alright. What do you think?
I really enjoyed Modern Warfare's campaign. I'm trying to think over the last few years, how many games have we had that like first person shooters? So
less than we used to.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them that have been have pretty much been some form of Battle Royale.
Yeah. So I did a quick Google, and it's things like they got like Warhammer Vermintide in there, which it's first person, but it's
I don't count that as a first person shooter. That's more of a horde game. That's like a horde game.
Far Cry 5, which Far Cry games aren't quite the same. Like there's nothing that's just like kind of like walk through, do a campaign of like here's levels, go through it, shoot things.
Rage, open world though. Rage is open world.
Wait, exactly. So it's not the same as like old Modern Warfare, where it's like, cool, you drop into this area, and then there's basically a map that goes through the area. You get to the end, you shoot one dude in the head, and it's like, cool, you did the level, next level.
Yeah.
Like that hasn't existed for a long time. So I think there's going to be people out there, maybe kind of older generation of gamers who used to play those games and love them, that are gonna see this and be like, this is the game we want. And I think that could work. It could work.
Absolutely. I feel like they really do. No, they've lost that war. They've lost that. They've lost, the number one spot on the, because essentially, as much as it pains me to say it, if you want to be huge and successful, you need to have younger players, because kids are the ones that have enough time to play these games. Yeah, there's more of them. They're the ones that have the time to play this all day, every day, spending money in the microtransactions. Older people have, we have wives and husbands, we have kids, we have jobs. We don't have as much time. And so I feel they really, really realize that they've lost out on that fight. And so they're going, well, what can we do? Well, we could make a stellar campaign. But looking at the trailer,
make a good game and sell it.
I know. What a radical idea! Like, wait, you're saying that we can make a good game and people will buy it?
For years, games journalists have been saying, like, gamers just want everything. It's like, we just want good games that are fun to play.
Exactly. We want good games, and we don't want to be nickel and dimed for every last inch of our souls. But no, if you look at the trailer, like, take it with a pinch of salt, because obviously trailers, they're crap. They oversell. They make the game look stellar with the graphics and all of this lot, and it ain't gonna be like that. Let's be honest. Especially if it comes out on PS4 and Xbox One, it ain't gonna look like that. But still, what they're showing is interesting, and it's got me intrigued. A person who, like, I've never been the biggest Call of Duty fan, but I have played them, I have dabbled, and I've enjoyed them. I was more of a Halo guy, by the way, but I've dabbled and I've enjoyed them. But I got to the point where I was like, I could not give any less of a shit about Call of Duty. Like, I'm like, Call of Duty, what? Like, who gives a shit? Like, I could not give any less of a crap. And now you've got me interested again. So well done, like, well done for that. Like, me, the grumpy Brit, this face, you've got me interested in a Call of Duty game. It's really annoying me that it's
they've made a game.
Like, yeah, they've made a game.
They're making a game.
Who would have thought that isn't trying to chase Fortnite? Like, god damn it. I don't agree with a lot of people. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm so sick of Battle Royale. It's like, I don't mind lots of Battle Royales, because some of them are really good. And you have different ones, like, Animal Royale and things like that are just different, but they take the same formula, but they change it. What I don't like, and what a lot of gamers don't like, is when people are so desperate for that success that they just copy and they put their own name on it. And that's what Blackout did. It was like, let's make Call of Duty PUBG. And that's what they did. They tried to make Call of Duty PUBG, but it was shit. And it was crap, and it was unbalanced, and it was boring, and it was slower paced, and it didn't feel as satisfying, in my opinion. And so it's like, I just, like, stop chasing those trends. Try, like, make a good game and release it. Like, again, if you want to make a Battle Royale, go for it, but make sure you're making a goddamn good game. Make a good Battle Royale. Don't just make a Battle Royale as quickly as you can because you hope it's going to sell copies of your game, which is what they did. They were like, everyone likes Battle Royales. Let's chuck one in our game. But then you took a campaign out for it. So you took what, admittedly, most people play Call of Duty for the multiplayer, fine, but a lot of people still enjoy the campaign. I know I do. I know I enjoy the campaigns of those games, and I used to with Battlefield as well. It was like a secondary thing. I would play the campaign, then I'd go play the multiplayer, and I'd probably never touch the campaign again. But, Well,
this is the weird thing. Call of Duty multiplayer, came out of the fact that Modern Warfare's multiplayer was so good, and it was basically Call of Duty doing what they've always done anyway. Yeah. Same as like old Medal of Honor games. There was a campaign, and it was a single player shooter, and then they were like, cool, sometimes you want to shoot your mates. Yeah. And they made it like local co-op, local competitive multiplayer. And then Modern Warfare was just like, well, we have the internet and Xbox Live and stuff, like, why don't we let people shoot each other on the internet?
Yeah.
And then it just took off. They were like, they were the first ones to do it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, people went, oh, we can just sell this then.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I remember the first Call of Duty I ever played, I think it was Call of Duty 2. It was on the Xbox 360, and it was in World War II. And I don't even know if it had a multiplayer, because I didn't play it. All I did was I played the campaign, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was a great campaign, and that was what started Call of Duty off, was these cool campaigns that were kind of cheesy, kind of like Broforce, even back in the World War II Call of Duties, it was still a bit like,
the end of Modern Warfare's campaign, though. Spoiler, if you haven't played the Modern Warfare campaign from like 2003 or something, like, you get to the end, and then he's like, oh yeah, no loose ends, and then he like stabs you and then shoots your mate. Yeah. And I got to the end, I was like, oh my god!
That was like Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones. That was like mind blowing. I was like, oh what?
But it was a first person shooter, and it had a compelling story and an interesting campaign. And I mean, some of the missions were awful. There was one where it's just like, all you have is your underslung grenade launcher, and I was like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I don't want this.
I'm just really happy that they're trying to make a good single player experience. So it looks that way. We'll have to wait and see till we see some gameplay and stuff, because maybe they're overselling it. It wouldn't surprise me, but I feel like you ain't gonna be as successful as you want to be with a live service crap, which Black Ops 4 is basically a live service game, let's be honest. So go and make a good single player experience, and people will buy your game. And then if they like it, they will buy the next one, and you can maybe continue to be in business, because let's be honest, Blizzard ain't looking all too well at the moment, are they? So I know this is, not necessarily Blizzard, but Blizzard Activision.
Yeah. I mean, I see this very much in the same way as I see Death Stranding with Kojima. Obviously, for the last year, 18 months, people have been saying, like, single games are dead, story games are dead.
Yeah.
Clearly, the gaming industry is like, okay, maybe we go back to it, because, like, if you want to, like, have any live service game, you basically have to take people from another live service game, because no one's sat there like, oh yeah, I bought the Battle Pass for Fortnite, Dauntless, Dead by Daylight. Like, no one's gonna buy it for all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you can't afford it. Like, and then if you can afford it, you have time. Like, you can't play all of them. Like, it's only 24 hours in a day, folks.
Yeah, so I think, like, it's a really good idea on their end. I think they've made a really, really good decision, and almost purely off of that decision, I almost want to get the game just to be like, keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Alpha agrees. Alpha's excited with it. But yeah, it's like, I agree. I want to support good decisions from the industry. This is why I really hesitate anytime I look at anything Blizzard's doing right now, because I'm like, I don't want to support what you're doing to the industry. It's not necessarily I don't want to support this game. It's more like, I don't want to support your bad decisions because you are wrecking the industry that I love. So when these companies make good decisions, I do kind of want to reward them. And there's only one reward that they listen to, and that is your wallet. Like, they pretend they're on your side, and every company does this. They really only want what's in your wallet because they're businesses. That's what they do, right? But one of the best ways to get me to give you things in my wallet is for me to really respect you and enjoy your products. If I don't enjoy your products, you ain't having my money. If I don't respect you as a company, you ain't having my money. So this is what Blizzard need to learn. And again, Activision, a lot of people say that, oh, it's the Activision side of Blizzard. It's the same company. It's the same company. They're run by the same people. It's the same. It doesn't matter. Activision, Blizzard, same, but yeah, I'm interested again, like you said with Death Stranding with Kojima. I'm interested, and to get me interested, especially this last few months, I don't know about you, Elliot, but these last few months I've just been like, ugh, on the games industry. Everything comes out and I'm just like, ugh, whatever.
I've been trying to do the optimistic side of it, and there's been games that come out, like when Spider-Man came out, I was really excited for that. Red Dead Redemption came out, God of War. God of War was one of the few games where I saw it come out and was just like, I'm just gonna have to get it. Like, I like the old games. Sekiro, we've had this conversation 100 times, but
yeah,
even though a lot of the time I'm really frustrated with the game, I'm really enjoying it. So I'm still seeing games coming out the last couple of months, like on the upcoming and everything, that I'm still seeing some games that are making me like excited to see what's going to come out.
Yeah. It's weird because, like, I'm the same. I have games that I've really enjoyed, but there doesn't seem to be the same passion and flame that there used to be. It's not like Halo, a new Halo release. I would punch a grandma to get out of school to get home and play Halo.
Don't punch grandmas.
Yeah,
guys.
don't punch grandmas. Or don't punch anyone. Like, let's not promote violence. But I'm just saying, back then, I would have punched a grandma.
I think we're just getting old. We're both the same age. I think we're just getting old. There's no joy left in this.
Well, I don't know, because I see a lot of it on YouTube as well. You see a lot more negative. And there's an argument to be, negative press gets more clicks. I get that, right? But there's a lot more. Like, even look at Blizzard. I used to remember when everybody loved Blizzard so much that all of the press about Blizzard was, oh my God, greatest company ever. Can't wait for BlizzCon. Can't wait for the next WoW expansion. Like, all right, this patch isn't the best because balance, but can't wait for the next one. Like, everyone was so excited. No one seems to have that same level of excitement for anything anymore. And I think it's my theory on why we're losing our excitement for this is because I think that I think that the market leaders, the industry leaders, your AAA, whether we like to admit it or not, AAA are your market leaders. So your Call of Duties, your Blizzard, your, all of these AAA games are the ones that are fucking up the most. They are the ones that are being like, yeah, but it's a half-ass game. Here's Anthem and Fallout 76, go, play it, enjoy. And we're like, I don't enjoy it. And they go, why not? Because it's crap. Here's more microtransactions then. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the games that used to be the best, the gold standard. Again, Call of Duty used to be the gold standard game, They're the ones that are doing the worst. And it's like, well, Yeah, sure. A lot of people love indie games, but indie games don't have that same level of excitement
Hype.
as a AAA. Yeah, it doesn't have the same level as hype
Yeah.
as a AAA game. And these games that I look forward to the most in the past have been AAA games. Again, look at Halo. Halo, World of Warcraft. One of the games that I really used to love. I mean, Metal Gear Solid used to be one of my favorite franchises. Resident Evil. All of these franchises. And I will say, Resident Evil is one of those that I actually want to talk about Resident Evil at one point. We'll see if we've got time today. If not, I'll do a video on it. But all of these, franchises that I love that have all died off have like killed my love for a lot of this industry. And now we're left with Anthem, Fallout 76, and World of Warcraft BFA, which is the worst iteration of World of Warcraft. So all of these big games are just crap now. And I feel like that's what's killing my excitement, because I'm like, well, I don't have that next big release to look for. I haven't got that next Halo title. I can't wait. And in the meantime, I'll play these indie games and I'll play these other games. But really, I'm waiting for that game. There doesn't seem to be a game that I'm like, yeah, that is going to be the best game I've ever played. We don't have that anymore.
Well, we'll see what happens with E3. If E3 makes some good announcements, maybe we'll get it back. I mean, I've spent the last 3 years Final Fantasy VII remake.
They're gonna mess that up.
Give me ATB
for them. Yeah, we've said this before. Final Fantasy. Why are you so Square? Why are you so scared of the ATB system? We love it. It's what made us enjoy. It's like, all right, analogy time. I like my analogies.
No,
it's like, imagine, right? McDonald's are like, oh, we're gonna bring back the old burger from the 90s. It's gonna be called the Mc90, right? And they come out and they're like, oh yeah, but people don't like pickles anymore, so we're gonna take the pickle off. No, leave the pickle on. Pick it off if you don't like it. Put the pickle back on the burger, you piece of shit. But that's what it's like. It's like they just seem to be so intent on modernizing Final Fantasy that they've taken away everything that made Final Fantasy great. And it's like, well, what are you left with? You're left with the generic action Japanese game. Good job.
You've already said why that is, though, because earlier on you said for a game to be successful nowadays, you've got to bring in that younger audience.
Yeah, but the younger audience don't give a crap about Final Fantasy. They want to play Fortnite.
Very true. And I think a big problem with it is that there's a lot of people out there who think of you think of your audiences as big chunks, and you take the average of those chunks.
Yeah.
And the average younger audience nowadays, I don't think they have the patience for an ATB system.
No. No, I agree. But again,
which might be unfair if you're younger and do want to comment.
We've said this before. Yeah, anyone in the chat, if you're a younger player and you love JRPGs, let me know. But I feel like Persona 5, which is a traditional RPG but modernized, and it's ATB. It's it's very Japanesey, very quirky, but nicer graphics,
it's a dating
nicer
sim.
engine. Yeah, but that's part of what Persona. It's always had that in Persona, which Final Fantasy fans might not like it, but it's always had that. But Persona 5 was a smash
success.
Quickly
derail.
Yeah, go on.
I went to pick up Persona the other day, and secondhand Persona 5 is still 40 quid, so it's clearly doing well.
It's a huge success. It's a smash hit. It was really, really well received. And it has an ATB system. It's not exactly the same as Final Fantasy, but it's very similar. And that was a huge success. So I thought Square would look at that and go, Persona 5 did well. Maybe people actually do like JRPGs. The thing is, as somebody who works on both YouTube and Twitch, right? For those of you who don't know, this is my job right now. You've got to go with what your target audience is. So if you're a gamer YouTuber, right, you don't start uploading beauty vlogs, because your audience, everybody sat in the chat right now. In fact, everybody in the chat right now, what if I put up a beauty vlog? Maybe you would. Okay, maybe if I put up a beauty vlog,
this is such a dumb idea to go with.
I was going to say maybe it'd be hilarious. But if I started putting up tech reviews,
now, please.
Anyone in the chat, if I started putting out tech reviews, would you really want to watch it? Most of you, why do you come to my channel? Let me know in the chat. Why do you come to my channel? I'm guessing most of you come for gaming opinions, right?
It's for me. Just come for me.
Yeah, or Elliott, whichever. But most of you come for the gaming, and I know this because every single week when I upload the podcast, my channel gets a huge surge of viewers, right? So every Saturday, my channel, even last Saturday when YouTube was down and I couldn't upload my video, nobody could upload videos for 2 hours. Even last Saturday, people were still coming back to my channel. They were looking for the podcast. So I know that's my audience. So as a game development studio, you should know that you're into what your intended audience are. And I feel like with companies like Square and, even Call of Duty with the last iteration, they're so desperate to get that younger audience who are bigger that they forsake everything that makes their game great. And then those younger people don't buy their game because they're just not interested. And then the older people who buy the game, who love the franchise, go, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
What is this? Why did you even bring out Final Fantasy 15? What was the point? Coming for my grumpy mood and for dissing Blindside, got him.
Got him.
But yeah, you have to understand your audience, and I feel like this is what COD failed with last time, and I think that they've realized it now. They realized that the only people left who give a crap about the only people who give a crap about COD now are people who enjoy what made COD great. They're not really there for Blackout. They're not really there for, you know, even the zombies mode. I don't think people are interested anymore. So they're going for the campaign, and I hope that they do it well and they do it right. And if they do, hopefully the game does well for them. But we'll see, because it's Activision Blizzard. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I want them to do well, because we've had I feel like so many of our conversations end up when we're saying the same thing, and we're like, I want people in the gaming industry to do well, so that the gaming industry does well, so that things go good.
I mean, this is our job, essentially. I mean, it's not yours, you're getting a job, but like, this is my job. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a living in the video game industry. If the video game industry collapses, boom, there goes my job. So for people that are like, oh, you just want these companies to fail, and I've had that. I've had people be like, oh, you just hate these companies. It's like, no, but what I want them to do is stop taking advantage of their customers, because what that does long term, if you keep screwing over your customers, is you turn them into non-customers. And non-customers, guess what? This is going to be radical business information for you right here. If you want to start your own business, listen up, folks.
Business 001.
People who hate your company don't spend any money in your company.
Yeah.
YouTube secrets. Like, seriously, it's not hard to figure out that people who hate your guts will not spend money with your company. If you turn away your customers, they ain't gonna spend with you. So, like, come on. I want to talk about this, because I was gonna make a YouTube video. I know we're coming up towards the end, and we still have a segment on chatting. Do you have somewhere to be? Have you got like a time?
I have nowhere to be. Let's just go.
Brilliant.
I've got one more beer left. I'm good.
Brilliant. So one thing that I've been wanting to talk about Resident Evil for a little while. I'm going to turn it into this is just off the top of my head topic, because I've been wanting to talk about it for a little while, because it's really very relevant to what we've just been talking about. And that is that Resident Evil, which is, for those of you who don't know Resident Evil, why the hell don't you know Resident Evil? You have a question, Simon? Go ahead. Resident Evil was a survival horror. It was in my opinion, it was the premier, the original, or the most sort of, you know, successful survival horror game. Which survival horror is a niche, right? It's a niche. Not everybody likes survival horror. Even some people who like horror don't like survival horror. So, Resident Evil. And let me know, Elliott, have you played any Resident Evils? Are you a Resident Evil fan at all?
I've played some PlayStation 1 and Resident Evils. Which one was it 4 that was on the 360?
Yeah, Resident Evil 4 with Leon. It was the first like third person one. Well,
no, it wasn't 4 I played. 4 was the cool one that was on the GameCube, and you could get a controller that was a chainsaw. I played a lot of 5.
Yeah.
I think
so one of the weaker
pretty much 100%ed it. But
I liked 5. But it was one of the weaker ones.
I didn't really enjoy the old one. I played the old ones when I was like quite young, and the whole kind of like having to stand still to aim and stuff, which I understand makes it more horror thrillery.
Yeah. And you got the limitations of the time as well.
Yeah, obviously, but no, I wasn't a big fan. But the later on ones like 4, 5, like I think I've dabbled in the ones a couple later than that.
I'm just gonna quickly change that title, because I feel like this is also relevant and it's gonna be way more exciting. You ready?
Oh yeah, I want to see it. Just the record, I don't know any of what this is.
So, what I want to talk about, what I want to talk about is that Resident Evil had this really weird evolution and journey, and being a survival horror, and knowing that Resident Evil tried so desperately to modernize, which is what they did with 5 and 6, they tried to modernize and actionize Resident Evil. So for anyone who's played all of them, like I have, Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 were survival horror, top-down, tank controls, blah, blah, blah. So was Code Veronica. Then 4 came out, which made it a lot more action, but 4 was still very, very critically acclaimed. It was very well received. It was a pretty decent game. But then 5 came out, and 5, you could tell they tried to mainstream it. And when I say mainstream it, they tried desperately to make it like everybody enjoy it. Like, they actionized it. They made it like more like a movie than a horror game. They took a lot of the weird quirkiness.
They put co-op in it.
Yeah, they put co-op in it, which I actually really enjoyed the co-op, by the way. Again, as a game in itself, I actually really liked Resident Evil 5, but as a Resident Evil 5 game, crap. As a Resident Evil game, crap. So anyway, they took a lot of the survival horror and turned it into gimmicky action sequences and all that lot, and a lot of people hated it. So then 6 came out, And they did the same thing. They brought back some of the other characters from Resident Evil, but they did the same thing. Gimmicky action, felt like a crap movie, felt like more like the movies of Resident Evil, which the movies did super well, right? The movies were super, super successful. That's why they made like 6 of them. They were so, so well, but most people were like, yeah, they're crap Resident Evil movies though. They're good movies, they're all right movies, but they're crap Resident Evil movies. So the games went the same way. But if you think about it, it makes sense. And the reason why I say it makes sense was because games media, both journalism and the AAA video game industry, kept saying horror is dead, single player games are dead. Horror's done. They kept saying it. There was a whole time when they were like, yep, horror games are done. No one plays horror anymore, and no one plays single player games anymore. So you can see that they tried so desperately to go, well, if horror games and that are dead, we'll go action instead then. We'll go action, we'll go mainstream, we'll try and sell loads of copies. Now, I think tinfoil hat time. We need like a graphic for this. We need like a tinfoil.
We definitely don't need a graphic for this. This is the first time this has ever happened.
What, tinfoil hat time? No, I say that all the time.
We've done conspiracy theories before, I suppose.
I always say tinfoil.
My Sonic the Hedgehog one, which and then everyone Twitter overnight from filming it to the podcast going out, everyone on Twitter was like, I've got this theory, and I was like, I had it first.
But only we'd uploaded it a day earlier. But no, I feel like Resident Evil 7, Tinfoil Hat Time, was a test. I think it was a test. I think that was Capcom going, everyone keeps saying that horror's dead. And by the way, around this time, there was a lot of indie game horror popping up. I think they were like, maybe we're wrong. Like, everyone, like, games journalists are all saying horror's dead, and the AAA video game industry saying they're dead, but a lot of fans are saying it's not. Maybe we should try it out. So I think with Resident Evil 7, which if I haven't played 7 was a little bit less Resident Evil, but it was more of a traditional horror game. It was first person, which we'd never had a proper first person Resident Evil game. We'd had like shooter ones. It was first person, and it felt more like a horror game. Like if you hadn't sold it as Resident Evil, like I wouldn't have even really realized it. There was like some passing references to Resident Evil, but it was more like a traditional horror game. And guess what happened? Resident Evil 7 sold really well. Knowing that 6 was a complete failure, by the way. 6 was crap. No one liked it. It was awful. 7, though, going from an action game to a traditional horror game, sold super well. It was very popular. People were speedrunning it on Twitch. People were playing it. People still play it now occasionally. It did very well. So I think that was literally Capcom going, let's just see if this is true. Let's just see if horror is dead or not. And they did it, and they went, maybe we were wrong. And so what did they do? What did they release after Resident Evil 7? Oh, they've done other games, but what was their next Resident Evil game? Resident Evil 2 remaster, remake, whatever you want to call it. It's a remake. Yeah, it's a remake. So then they brought out Resident Evil 2 remake, and it sold really fucking well. A remake of a survival horror game, and it has all of the Resident Evil stuff in there. It has all of the survival horror elements in there, and it sold really well. It did really well on Twitch for a few weeks. That kind of game does die off on Twitch because it hasn't got that, that multiplayer longevity, but it did really, really well. Everyone liked it. Everyone was like, keep going. That's
keep going in.
Keep going. And so my point is, bringing it back to Final Fantasy, is that if Capcom can take a risk like that and go for a niche market like survival horror fans and go, well, we just made a successful game. Why can't Square do it? Why are you so consistent on making these?
I just remembered how we got here. This whole segment is, can we have an ATV in Final Fantasy 7 remake?
It is. Well, I put Dino Crisis down there as well, because one thing that Capcom did say was, if people buy the remake, if people want these games, we'll go and remake some of our older ones. And so they did. They already did a Resident Evil 1 remake a little while ago, and it was a success, but it wasn't as massive success as Resident Evil 2 was, because the first one was more of a remaster. This one was an actual remake of Resident Evil 2, completely different, third person, bit more action, but still very survival horror. I loved it, by the way. And they have said recently in a tweet, if people want it, we'll make it for Dino Crisis. Now, if you've never played Dino Crisis, god damn it, it was so good. You played as a sexy redhead called Regina, and she wore leather, and she was very hot, and instead of zombies, it was dinosaurs, and it was basically the same. You had tank controls, and you had, like, keys that you needed to get through different doors, and lots of murder, and time travel, and all sorts. It was amazing. I love it. So, bring back Dino Crisis. But my point is that I feel like the industry needs to let go of this fact that everything has to be an action game, because it doesn't, and games that actually cater to a specific audience tend to do really well, and games that try and please everybody don't do well. Call of Duty, Black Ops, tried to cater to everybody, tried to cater to Battle Royale fans, and everybody else didn't work. Right? So this all ties back into Call of Duty again. Now, if they go really hard on a campaign-driven Call of Duty experience, it's probably going to work quite well. Because people that love Call of Duty are going to come back and be like, yay, Call of Duty campaign again. So the industry just needs to stop trying to make everything a smash hit success and mainstream and just focus on what makes the games good. And if Capcom can do that with Resident Evil, Square can do that with Final Fantasy. They aren't, though, because they're making Final Fantasy VII episodic and no ATB.
Yeah.
So these companies can do it. And I know every time we have a remake or a remaster, there's a little bit of pushback. People are like, oh, we want new IPs. But we can have both. Don't ignore those. We can have both. And let's be honest. What would you rather have? Be honest, right? Guys, in the chat, if you're still here. What would you rather have? An amazing remake like Resident Evil 2 or a new IP like Anthem? Vote in the chat, guys. I'd rather have Resident Evil 2 every day of the week.
Picks best remake and worst IP.
Yeah, but it's true. It's true. Like the new IPs coming out now are all so lackluster. You know. Alpha wants an amazing remake. Alpha doesn't mind if a game is a rehashing old content or old story, as long as the game is good.
I mean, I've never had a problem with remaking content. Even if you could remake a crap game, and if you make it good, I'm fine with it. Because end of the day, you're releasing a good game.
Yeah.
Which is all I want.
It's interesting, because Resident Evil 2 was a cult classic. Like, people still play Resident Evil 2 now, the original. And so my concern with it, which I said before it came out, was that, like, if it was so popular and successful, like, you run that risk of angering your original audience. If you change too much, you anger your original audience. But if you don't change enough, your modern audience are going to be like, oh, it's not the 90s anymore. So, but Capcom nailed it with Resident Evil 2. They nailed it. They were like, look, it's modern, it looks great. It's got new stuff in there that you're not expecting, but it's got old stuff that you can go, oh, I remember this. Like, there's one part where you play as, you go through the alleyway in the original, which, in the original, you go through the alleyway right at the start. In this one, it's halfway through. But you go through that alleyway in the original, you're like, oh, there's the girl in the miniskirt from the first one. It's like a little Easter egg in there for you. And it's like, oh, I loved it. I still need to play Leon's campaign, because I've only done Claire's so far, but perfect. Give me more of that. Give me Dino Crisis, please. Please, Capcom, now. Dino Crisis, please.
I mean, they've already remastered the best Resident Evil spin-off anyway, which was Devil May Cry, because they remastered the Devil May Cry 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Which is the best thing to come out of Resident Evil's engine. Because Devil May Cry games.
I like Devil May Cry. I prefer the older ones, though. It's going to sound really old man, but I prefer the older ones. Like, Devil May Cry 1 and 2 are my favourite.
I think a lot of people
loved 4 though, and I can't.
I like the cheesiness from 3. Like when they put it in, I actually really enjoyed that sense of humor. So it worked brilliantly for me.
The thing with me is I like the most recent one. Was it Devil May Cry?
I think your live stream's just gone offline.
It's gone offline.
Well, it has for me.
It has for you. Are we offline, guys?
Oh, and then it came back.
Was it a little bit of buffering? Might have been a bit of buffering. It happens live. Yeah, no, it's fine for Alpha.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, buffering happens. It's a live stream.
Blame me. Just blame me.
I'll blame you. Yeah, the latest one, it was all right. Okay, so we did buffer for Renhell. No problem. We're back, guys. Don't worry. This is the risks that you take when you do it live. By the way, this was kind of like a one-off because it's only the two of us today. Like next week, we're probably going to go back to doing it pre-recorded. We'll see. Like maybe we'll do live ones occasionally, but it was more of a special this week because I wanted to wait till today I wanted to talk about the Dead by Daylight stuff, and the Dead by Daylight stuff was at 8 o'clock last night, so I couldn't do it. And also, there's only two of us, so I thought it made more sense. Because we are going to go into opening up for the chat if you guys want to talk about anything. But yeah, so I feel like these companies need to get through their heads that you need your audience and you need to satisfy them, and stop trying to chase new customers so hard that you forsake your old ones. And you absolutely can do both. You can have a game like Resident Evil 2, which is modern and fresh and a bit more of the time, but also can please your hardcore audience. You absolutely can do that. It's not easy, but you can, and you should try to do that. Like and this is what concerns me about the Final Fantasy remake, is that they don't seem to really care about the original audience, because if they did, they wouldn't make it episodic, and if they did, they wouldn't take the ATB out. So
yeah, I mean, I think it is one of those things of, like, if every company was trying to make a game that appeals to 100% of the audience, then every company is going to make the same game.
Yeah.
Because there's only one thing that's going to appeal to everyone. And, like, I think kind of similar to what you were saying earlier, like, it's fine to have your core audience and appeal to your core audience.
Yeah, exactly.
I just, yeah. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, and
Same.
7 was the Final Fantasy game I was raised on, and
Same.
I would have.
It's the first one I played.
All I wanted was that exact game, new graphics.
That's what all of the Final Fantasy VII fans wanted, though. We wanted the same exact game, but with modern engine. And for me, I will accept minor changes if they make sense, if they're relevant. But I feel like they've redesigned the game with a modern audience in mind. But the modern, again, same problem. The modern audience don't give a crap about Final Fantasy. They don't know it. They don't know the characters that I love, that you love. They don't know. They don't care. It's not. And the people that do love it, we're going to be so angry with the changes. I mean, why the hell is it episodic? And apparently there's talk about each episode is going to be like a full $60 price, which I'm like, what?
Well, from what I've read, they're putting a lot of content into it as well. So like the first episode is going to be entirely in Midgar, which obviously in the original game, there's not that much content in Midgar. But I think they're going to pad it out, which...
Why?
Oh.
My question is why?
Voice act all the characters, keep it exactly the same, update the graphics. I literally, if they did those 3 things and they kept the game basically the exact same thing, redid the graphics, voice acted all the dialogue and stuff,
yeah,
I would pay like $90 for that.
Yeah.
And I don't buy games at full price. I would pay $90 for that.
Same thing with Resident Evil 2. They did change things in Resident Evil 2, but it made the game better. And if they're going to do this with Final Fantasy 7, I will wait and see. If they do this with Final Fantasy 7 and the things that they add make the game better, then sure. But I feel like I just don't trust them, especially with how Final Fantasy 15 went. I feel like the current modern Final Fantasy team don't understand Final Fantasy. And I say that because 15 was so lackluster. It was so, like, it didn't feel like a Final Fantasy game. It felt like just a sort of JRPG light, if you will. And I just didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't
it was just
it.
For me, it was more like the combat. The combat just isn't like tactical anymore. Like with 7, you have to really think about like what all each of your characters are doing and work around it and stuff.
Well,
only controlling one character, it's more of just like can you time your dodges? Can you attack at the right times?
Yeah. What was interesting with 7 was I replayed it on stream about 6 months ago as an adult, and I played it a lot when I was a kid, and I played it now and again, but I'd never done a full playthrough as an adult, and so I went back and played it, and it wasn't all that complicated. Maybe for a kid it was. It wasn't all that complicated. In fact, 7 was one of the easier Final Fantasies. But the point is that with the modern Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 15, it didn't even feel like Final Fantasy. It didn't even feel like it. It didn't even remind me all that much of Final Fantasy. It reminded me of a new IP, and that's not what I want. That's not what I want. The whole like selling point of Final Fantasy for me was that each game was different but the similar. So 7 and 8 were very different mechanics, but they still had the same like they still had an ATB, they still had a party system, you still had the summons were the same, you had Ifrit in both games and you had some different ones, but all of these things which made it Final Fantasy a series, even though each game was not 100% connected. And so now Final Fantasy 15 almost feels like a completely different game. Like it feels like it doesn't belong in that series, and that started with 13. Like 13 did that too, where it was like 13 doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy game either. It felt more Final Fantasy than 15, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like they try so hard to make the game amazing for a modern audience that they forget what made their games great in the first place, and then they wonder why their games don't sell. But then they turn around and go, people don't want Final Fantasy anymore because they don't buy it. It's like, no, we don't buy it because the shit that you're making ain't Final Fantasy. Know what I'm saying? Also, by the way, just to point out, it's going to be backwards, but Taylor, if you ever get to watch this VOD, I finally found my Straight Outta Context t-shirt.
I was wondering what I thought. Was like, is it Straight Outta Compton one? I was like,
no,
I didn't know.
Context, because we always say something out of context whenever we're live streaming or even on the podcast. We say out of context stuff.
But no, it's a staple for us.
It is a staple for us. But anyway, we've been going for 2 hours. I'm gonna move. Do you have anything else to say about the topics we've talked about, Elliot? Otherwise, I'm gonna move it over to the chat section. No, you good?
I've said the things we need to say.
Yeah, I think so too. This has been fun. So we're going to move it over to the last segment of the show. Again, as this is a live one. If you guys have anything you want to talk about, if you want to add anything, or think there's anything we've missed, what should we call it? Chat segment?
A's and Q's. Sure. Q's and A's.
Q&A? We'll put Q&A in there. Q&A. This is your chance, guys. If you have any questions you want from me or Elliot, if you have any questions about the show or about the topics we talked about or about my YouTube channel or about our Twitch channels or anything you want, now is your time. Ahmed, welcome in. How you doing? Let us know. If not, we'll wrap up. But I just felt like since it's a live stream and we don't know when we're going to do this live again, I thought we would do a we would do this. By the way, we have considered doing this live. I know a lot of people asked me to do this on Twitch, and I was like, no. Lots of people have been like, can you do the podcast on Twitch so we can join in? I'm like, no, this is my main YouTube content. It's the only thing keeping my YouTube channel alive. Why would I bring it to Twitch?
Cushion up there. So you're still representing. It's fine. I like how you went both because you weren't sure.
I can't remember. You can't see it. I know, which is crazy because in my head it's right there. But yeah, you can't see it. Don't worry. I don't like Twitch. Hate Twitch. Hate it. Just YouTube.
No, we did get. Team Alpha did ask earlier to go into the questions. How we thought Dead by Daylight stacks up to Friday 13th. I don't know. Have you played much Friday 13th?
I haven't played it. I don't even own it. I haven't played it.
I've got it on PlayStation. I played a couple matches, and there's things I like about it, and there's things that I don't. So I think also it's a lot more different to DBD than Pit. A lot of people go like, "Oh, asymmetric, and it's a killer."
Yeah. Everybody I've talked to
the same game.
They're different.
But it's a very, very, very different
game.
My
big thing, the reason why I'm not as interested in Friday 13th is because I really like how Dead by Daylight has different killers that play differently. And with Friday the 13th, it's Jason, right? It's Jason? Is it Jason?
Yeah, Jason.
Yeah. With Friday the 13th, it seems to be that it's always Jason, and it's always just kind of the same kind of gameplay, and so you don't get any of that variety. And with Dead by Daylight, it's with it being like a competitive multiplayer game, you have that level of I can get better at this, and I can think with Friday the 13th seemed more like a meme game. Like, I'm not trying to be insulting to the game here, but it seems like it was almost more like a meme funny thing, where like a lot of the initial press I saw of Friday the 13th was people running around being like, I'm gonna get you, and that was funny,
yeah,
but that lasts for a little while and then you get bored. And so for me, like, I'm like, well, what else do you do in that game? Like, you play as one killer and that's it. And I
liked the variety of it because there's multiple ways of escaping, and it's very like you go around, you find like you can work with what it is you're finding, or you can aim for an objective. Yeah. So like you can go like, right, we're gonna gas up the boat, repair the boat, and we're gonna get out of here on that. Or you can try and go for the car parts, stuff like that. The killer is definitely way more threatening killer. You can teleport around, you can set up booby traps, you can cut power in cabins. There are things you can do that you can't do in DBD, which do make you seem a bit scarier.
Okay. Which is one of my main criticisms about Dead by Daylight is killers don't feel scary. Or some of them do, but...
Yeah, when you're saying about variety, Red's got a good point. There's different Jasons, and the different Jasons can do different things.
Oh, what, so you have like Jason X and Jason...
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So there's like all the different Jasons, and they kind of have
different... by the way. Don't know if you can tell.
But yeah, so like you do still have some variety to it. Obviously, it is less than DBD. Like it's not completely different killers with completely different like abilities and stuff. But like I do like the idea of it. My biggest problem with it is a lot of times I try to play it, it's dead. There's either no one there, or the servers aren't running, or every time I've queued for it, like you can be queuing for like 30, 40 minutes
of multiplayer only games. And this happens with so many games. I mean, look at what was the other asymmetrical game with Evolve? Look at Evolve.
I really enjoyed Evolve. I loved it. I couldn't play it,
but by the time I got to it, it was dead already. And it was when they tried to revive it, and it just clearly didn't work. That game was dead as a dodo. And this is one of the real risks of these multiplayer only games, and it happens with a lot. It happens with Anthem, happened probably with Fallout 76.
Evolve's biggest thing was it killed itself with its monetization. It was very aggressive monetization. Very aggressive.
They had they announced the skins before they even announced the gameplay, a lot of the gameplay mechanics. I remember they were showing.
I really enjoyed the game. It was very well balanced as well. If the hunters caught up with the monster in phase 1, it was very much the hunters just won. If the monster got to phase 3, you could very easily just murder everyone. And then if it was in phase 2, it was kind of like it was a real, you had to like focus on their support or focus on their trapper and stuff, and you could really get the fights going.
I really did, from the little bit that I played of Evolve, I really did like the different monsters and their like designs and how they all played very differently. But it almost felt like with that game that like there was a whole lot of nothing. You were running around for a long time and nothing was happening, and then it was like finally, action! Oh, now it's ended. And,
well, the good thing was that like as the hunters running around in the start, you were like, if we find him now, we're gonna have a real advantage. As the monster, it was very like I can keep finding food and I start evolving, and so like it was a lot of nothing or a lot of like empty chase. It's not a direct chase. It was like tracking and But as the monster, you felt like you were doing things. As the hunter, you felt like you might get yourself an advantage. So I think it wasn't really empty. There was it was almost like building towards it.
Yeah.
But like playing as a hunter, if you got to a point where it's like monsters hit phase 2, you were like, we have to find this monster. Yeah. And then as a monster, the minute you spent the whole game just feeding, and then you hit phase 3, and then you're suddenly like, I am gonna wreck these scrubs. Like gonna, because I played as the big Godzilla guy a lot, and it was just like, I'm gonna have a great time. It's just like,
I like the floating one, but he wasn't as good, I don't think.
The Wraith, with the lightning-y kind of stuff.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah,
years ago.
We have another question. Yeah, I'm very curious as to how you have this set up for your podcast. I'm just starting my own, and Google Hangouts looks bland.
I haven't tried Google Hangouts. We use Discord, so we just do a standard generic Discord call, and I do 2 window captures, one for me and one for Elliott. Well, I usually do. If you do 4 people, if you do 4 people in a Discord call, it sets it out very nicely in a 1920 1080 window, so you don't have to do anything. Any less than 4, and you have to do individual window captures for different people, because the way that Discord lays it out is stupid. If you have 3 people, rather than having like 1 big window, 2 small windows, or have it in a triangle shape, it does it all in a line. So you have to window cap. But apart from that, it's just a Discord call. The only other downside to doing a Discord call is my OBS, my streaming software, will not allow me to use my GPU encoding at the same time as doing a Discord call. So I have to switch down to 264 encoding. But yeah, it's very easy.
The biggest problem with Discord is if you've been playing Dauntless this morning and your PlayStation controller's plugged in, it will just break everything.
Yeah, Discord can break. I mean, it is the easiest way to do it. Discord is free and everyone pretty much has it. But yeah, it's I don't know. I was looking at Google Hangouts because I think you could do the same thing with Google Hangouts, where you do a window cap and you crop it down and then you can move it. And I think Google Hangouts might have some more features, but I'm looking into it. But yeah, Discord is a good way to go. Lobbies are horrible for Friday. You have a friend who streams just that and has trouble finding rooms.
I cannot imagine streaming Friday 13th.
No, because TOS.
So much would be downtime.
Well, because Friday the 13th.
Oh, because it's local voice.
Yeah. And
surely you can mute the voice in game.
Maybe. I don't know.
Which takes away from it a bit, but no,
I've always said, like, I kind of want voice chat with Dead by Daylight, but it's too toxic. Like, maybe if you're playing, I don't know, maybe if you're playing Kill Your Friends.
I mean, if you're playing Kill Your Friends, just Discord call and get all of you in the same
exactly,
call. I would definitely do it all in the same call. I've seen videos of people doing it where they're doing Kill Your Friends and the killer's in the call with them, so they can't call things out to each other, but the killer can just be like, I see you.
I've done that. I've been
I'm gonna get you.
People in the Discord call were like, I'm doing this gen, and they're like, shh, don't tell him. And I was like,
but no, if it was like people nearby you, it'd be quite good, because then it means like once you hit terror radius, it's like shh, shh, shh. Like, I think that would be quite cool.
What I want, right, and this is what you can do in Friday 13th, because I've seen it. What I want is I just want to be a troll killer. Like, not horrible. What I want to do is I want to just go around the match and be like hidden around a corner as like a stealthy killer, like Ghostface, for example, and just be like, what's up? And just mess with them. That's what I want to do. I just want to mess with the
just watch them trying to scatter.
Oh, I had this fun match this morning, right? So I had a match. I was playing as oh god, who was I playing as? It doesn't matter. I was playing as a killer, right? And Hillbilly. I was playing as Hillbilly. I had a daily as Hillbilly, right? And I had to get 2 sacrifices for my daily. So my idea was kill 2 people, let 2 people go, because it was a daily. I wasn't cared about getting a 4K. I didn't give a shit. I just wanted to get the match over with. And so I was getting my hooks and stuff, and then some git started flashlight clicking me. And if you ever get into a match of Dead by Daylight with me, there's one thing that triggers me more than anything, and it's flashlight clicking. Not like clicking it, like just clicking it all over the place, just being like click, 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 click. So I got really angry. Yeah, it triggers me, right? So I got angry. So I purposely murdered that guy, and then murdered the other guy. And then while I was murdering the other guy, another person was just being an idiot, just like trying to get me triggered again, flashlight clicking, doing all this crap. So I murdered them. So I had the last person. I had the hatch shut, and she was at the exit gate. I had Blood Warden, though. She was at the exit gate, and I managed to down her at the exit gate, right? And I was like, no gates open. I was like, I'll let her go. And obviously the end game collapse is a thing now. If you've not played Dead by Daylight in a while, you have a timer now. Once a gate is open or the hatch is shut, you're on a timer. And if the timer runs out as a survivor, you dead, you donezo. You've got no way of surviving. So I saw this timer going down and it was getting closer and closer, and she was on the floor. So I picked her up, let her open the gate, right? So she was like opening the gate, and I was just sat there, and the timer was going down. And as soon as that gate opened, I downed her again. So she was crawling out, and it was so close to the exit. And I was just sat there giggling like a little girl, being like, yeah, yeah. Are you going to make it, little buddy? Are you going to make it, or are you going to die? She made it. But then it was so much fun.
You're a cruel man.
It was just funny because it was like they tried to bully. They tried to do the bully. The flashlight guy DC'd as well before I got to get him on his second hook. But they tried to bully, and it's like, well, if you're gonna try and bully, at least do it well.
Yeah, it's true. I've had matches where like you get into the end game and you're just like you're basically just prodding them around and letting them go. And I've had matches where it's just like you get to the end game and they're like, "Ha, really easy," and I'm like, "I was letting you win."
Yeah, there's a lot
at one
of
point
that
you
in
like
that game,
you
though,
pick someone up, you take them to the hatch and you drop them. They don't notice it, and then like they think you're trolling or something. You're just like, "Leave, get out."
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons why they added the endgame collapse in Dead by Daylight in the first place, was because survivors were just not leaving. They were bullying the killers, especially newer killers, so much they just wouldn't leave. And as a killer, if you DC to end the game, you lose all that blood points you made, you lose all your emblems. It's not worth it. So I really like the endgame collapse. I do feel it, I don't know, in some ways it's kind of ruined a bit of the endgame fun, but at the same time, it's like it can also make endgame fun, like I had this morning with that. So I was a big fan of that. Yeah, he's been going for 9 hours so far today. He moved PS4 weeks ago, and it's gone better.
I've only got it on PlayStation 4. Yeah, I've only got Friday the 13th on PlayStation 4, and I found the queue times unacceptable.
Yeah, like
So
I say, I've never
played it.
I don't know. I mean, if it's super cheap, I might buy it. But again, if I'm gonna buy it and I can't get in games, then
I got it for free. It was on PS Plus a while back. So
yeah, which happens to a lot of these 9 games. They get chucked on PS Plus or Xbox, whatever Xbox's version is.
The PS Plus games over the last few months have been crap.
Have they? They used to be really good. Like,
they used to be really good games
on PlayStation Plus.
Although this month they're doing Sonic Mania. I think it's like old Sonic games, so I'm kind of keen for that. But
I bought Sonic 1 for my Switch because they have a lot. Basically, Sonic is Nintendo now. Like, I think they've got the license for it. But I bought Sonic 1 for my Switch, and I was like, yeah, I can't wait for the Chemical Plant Zone. And then I was like playing through, and I was like, wait, I did not remember that Chemical Plant Zone was Sonic 2. I thought it was Sonic 1. The more you know. But yeah, I think that's it. I don't think we've got any more. If you are still in the chat in the comments, guys, if you have any more questions or anything you want to talk about before we wrap up, because it has been 2 hours. It's a bit longer than usual. One thing I do want to talk about before we go, though, is should we talk about GGWP plays? Because there's nothing solid in the works yet, is there? But I feel like
I was about to say there's nothing solid in the works, but now you've said it, we can't really not.
It's more the idea of it. It's more the idea of what we're thinking about. So you guys might have noticed we've been doing this podcast for 8 weeks now. 8 weeks? Is it 8 weeks?
This is week 8.
Episode 8. So we've been doing it for 2 months every week, and we really enjoy doing it. All 3 of us enjoy doing it, and we've had some amazing guests so far.
We'll speak for Taylor while she's gone.
Well, she says
we have
behind the scenes. Yeah. We know, like, she has said that she enjoys doing it too. So we really enjoy doing it, and it is definitely my most successful content on YouTube. It's my most watched, gets my most views, generally speaking, and it does really well for the channel. So we're continuing to the podcast every week. I'm a big I've always wanted to do a podcast, watched it for years. It's
not going anywhere anytime soon.
It's not going anywhere. But what we have noticed is we have this kind of like GGWP sort of brand going on, which is me, Elliott, and Taylor. And so we were thinking about doing some gaming together, doing some on YouTube, maybe doing like a let's play or a live stream or something where we hang out and play games. So if you like the idea of that, let me know either down in the normal comments if you're watching this non-live, or let me know now in the live comments. But we're thinking about doing some like gaming where we can actually play together, and we're not 100% on the details yet, whether we'll switch between viewpoints or whether we'll do it over a Discord call or whatever. But we have plans. We have plans for some more GDWP content that would be on top of the live stream. So on top of the podcast. So if you're interested in that, let me know. And if you have any like specific games you might think,
I was going to say game suggestions we got, because we did have a very brief conversation about it, and we kind of went through like, we could do this or we could, and it was very all over the place. So game suggestions would be brilliant. We're more than happy to.
I would love to do it. I mean, we're going. I'm talking about it now, it's happening. But for those who don't know, one of my biggest like dreams is I want to have, I'd love for us guys to be able to work together in person. So me and Elliott, Taylor, hopefully she does live in Canada, so it'd be a little bit more tricky, but I would love to have the GDPB stuff be in person and have other people as well working with us. That's kind of my long-term career goal, is to have an office or have a stream house or something, in which case then we could do proper content, because you can do the we could do the multi-editing and everything all in-house, and that would be something that I'm looking at, but that is in the far future. So for now we're talking about playing online over Discord or recording our own individual gameplay and viewpoints and then editing them together. But yeah, let me know if you think that sounds like a good idea. If that's something that you would watch, let me know. Again, I feel like people are enjoying the podcast from the viewership numbers and from the watch time. It seems like people are enjoying the podcast, which is fantastic because I love doing it. So
I was going to say, it's the easiest content to do ever, because it's just a few friends getting together chatting.
Do you know what? It is. It's funny because I've had this conversation, especially now that I run Creator Central, which is my second YouTube channel. I have, which by the way, I got I commented on last week's podcast with Creator Central, and it got flagged as spam. I'm like, it's my own account. It's linked. It's linked to my Google account. Like, how do you think it's spam?
What did you comment? It was just like
well, because we promoted Creator Central last week, I was like, oh hey, if you want to find Creator Central, here we are. And so yeah, flagged it as spam. So I've proved it this morning. But yeah, so
it looked like self-promo.
Yeah, exactly, which I appreciate, but it's literally my Google account linked to this Google account. Like, come on, YouTube, come on. But yeah, so this is
YouTube.
It's really interesting because I did about a year of YouTube where I did recycled Twitch content. So I would take my Twitch VOD that was like 6 hours long, sometimes multiple Twitch VODs, because I used to do like monthly goddamn mashups, right? Where I would take like loads of Twitch VODs, I'd go through them, 6 hours worth of content, take out little clips, put them together, put some funny music on there, put some like graphics or whatever on there, and I'd chuck it out there. And I did that for a year and didn't do nothing. I got like 30 views on my videos. No one really gave a shit. Barely any subscribers. I come to doing something like a podcast every week where we're literally just sat here chatting, and it's already done way better in the last 2 months than it has for a whole year on my channel. So it's really interesting. It's just an interesting point of, like we say it's easy, but like it's better content. It's better content than my old Twitch compilations, which they're still there on my YouTube. If you want to go and find them, like you'll see why nobody was watching them, because it's like, well, you've got the Twitch overlay on there and you've got the chat popping up on there, and I don't know. It's just people don't search for that on YouTube. They don't want that on YouTube. They don't care about it. Most people on YouTube don't give a crap about Twitch. Let's be honest. Some people do, but most people don't. Like, they don't care about Twitch. So yeah, it's this is my meat and potatoes, if you will. That's an English phrase. That means it's my main YouTube content. It's the main one. This is like the main dish, and then we're looking at.
I haven't had meat and potatoes for ages.
Yeah, am I showing my age there a little bit? Awkward. But yeah, so that's the plan. This is my main show, and I have other shows. I have the Grumpy Show, which I have had in my brain box for like over a year now. I just don't have the setup for it yet, but I have a Grumpy Show idea. But we're looking at other GGPB stuff, so if you like these podcasts, if you want that kind of content, let me know. For those of you who are watching this non-live, if you haven't already, oh, by the way, those of you who are live, if you can like if you're still in the chat right now, if you can like it, by the way, you can like it now. You can like the video right now. So if you wouldn't mind doing that for me, just...
You can like first. You have the advantage. We're going to let you like before anyone else can.
Yeah. Make your vote counted. So let me know if you've liked this video by liking down there right now. If you are still in the chat, it really helps the channel out a huge ton. Anything that you do on my channel helps the channel out. So liking, commenting, subscribing if you haven't already, and just being here right now watching the live stream, it helps my channel out a ton. So if you wouldn't mind leaving the video a like, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We are going to wrap up. We haven't got any more questions. So thank you very much for watching, everybody, and we will see you next time. Probably not live, but next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.